Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, everybody. So we had the idea. This is going to be a special episode for the Unfiltered Race Fans Only podcast. We're going to talk about um, the impact of tariffs and how that impacts us as diecast collectors, diecast collecting community, the hobby in general, what our thoughts are. You've got a range of collectors, folks on here. Uh, Chip, Blake, Chris, myself, Kevin, either folks who are dealers looking to become dealers, have been longtime collectors since the 90s when RCCA was stood up, uh, and been supportive of the hobby throughout since and gone through the many iterations. So we're just going to kind of go through what impact we think the tariffs are going to have, what Lionel's new policies sounds like it's going to do, and we'll go through there. So with that, first I'll introduce our newest guest here, Mr. Chip Wilson, the king of Tony Stewart prototypes. Uh, I think by far and
By a slim
away,
margin.
definitely legend. Just a small amount. So with that, Chip, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and welcome to the group conversation.
Well, first off, thank you for letting me run my mouth about diecast a little bit. I am obsessed with them, and any chance I get to talk about them, I'm going to do it. And as Alan said, I am probably one of the biggest Tony fans around. I've got currently 241 Stewart prototypes in the collection. We're gunning towards 250. Hopefully, we'll get there soon. But
Is that the
love the
only three left out
hobby.
there that exist and you just haven't gotten them yet?
Well, see, I get this question a lot. I don't want to get too off topic, but they say you've got to have every one. Well, Tony has 445 produced cars that I know of. Do every one of those have a prototype? Maybe, maybe not. But how many cars were not produced that there are DMPs for? So there could be 400 or 500 prototypes potentially out there that you just gotta find. So
Yeah.
I don't know how many are out there, but we're gonna try to find as many as we possibly can.
All right.
I
That's
know I've helped with a couple.
that's a
Oh, I
that's a hell of a collection, first off. That's awesome. I didn't realize it was that many. I mean, I've seen your collection displayed off over the years, just little snippets here and there where you show off. I've got, all right, here's this theme of prototypes or whatever. And I've always enjoyed seeing those pictures, but damn, that's impressive right there. 200, you know,
Very
plus
impressive.
is that's probably a mortgage. A small mobile home for somebody.
I don't want to know. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to know. I have that question asked, and I mean, for all right. So we can do this. Raise your hand. Do you have 100 die cast? Raise your hand. Do you have 500 die cast?
I don't think I
Raise
have
your
that many.
hand. Here. Raise your hand.
And
Do
I
you have
sell them.
over
I
a
don't have that many.
yeah? Do you raise your hand if you've got over 1,000?
Nope.
So if you can raise your hand on that last one, you don't want to start answering the how much have you spent question because you just don't even want to think about it. So I've been asked that a couple of times, broke out the calculator once, got disgusted, and decided I didn't want to do that again. So we won't be we won't be doing that again.
Yeah, I just tried. My math was I average them at like $100 a car, and that breaks out for the really high ones, the really low ones, and I still end up with a brand new Corvette ZL1. So I'm like, okay, so we're not going to do that because it'll just make me sad, and I just
I
try not
only
to think
did
about it.
50. I only did $50, and I didn't like that answer either. So
Right.
we
So,
will move on.
so with that, we're well, thank you, and thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining the group. Look forward to hearing what you have to say. Like you said, you've been a longtime collector and you've been a member of the RCCA group a long time, like some of the other members here. And as we talk about where our experiences are from collecting throughout the years, I think that's valuable in the perspective because the different entry points throughout the years have definitely dictated how much you purchase at a time. So with that, Lionel put out last week in an email that they are going to starting basically this week. Any orders open, not closed, but open orders or future orders for the time being are going to be assessed a 5% tariff surcharge because the tariffs are going into effect. If you're any knowledgeable, pay any attention to the news, You've seen that Trump's economic plan, part of it is applying tariffs to goods that come from outside this country. If you bought things during his last term, you saw how that worked. And so when this email came out, especially on the forum, I haven't seen too much about it on Facebook, but I haven't really looked. But I know on the forum we had very quickly like a 2 to 3 page discussion about it, where people were either pissed off or curious about how it was going to work, the legality of posting this and backward, basically retroacting it to existing open orders. So we'll get into that, and then we also, through some luck, got to look at the language from Plan B or Circle B, who's basically the #1 reseller of diecast outside of Lionel's direct sales. And Brent is going to be adding a surcharge, but what he's opted to do, and I don't want to misquote it, so that in the event he watches this, I don't want to have him pissed at me or breathing down my throat. So let me pull it up real quick so I can speak specifically to what the language in it says for his. All right. So he's going to have so we direct sales from Lionel are getting 5%. As a reseller, he's getting 10%. So you're going to have a 5% more if you buy through Brent as a reseller. So to me, if I'm Brent, that's going to suck first off, because my costs are going to go up. And in turn, my customers' costs are going to go up. So actually, Lionel's almost forcing business back to them. That's one. The actual tariff is 20%. So in both cases, we're paying less than what the tariff is that's being assessed to Lionel. Now, they also have their fee of 3% for any type of credit card or PayPal payments, if you didn't know about that. And then, so total, all orders will reflect a 13% handling fee to be adjusted. And then lastly, they said they're going to try and offset it by anything was already in stock and received by March 7th of this year will be reduced by 10% to kind of balance out. So if a 2025 car asset, for example, not that you can get any of them, but if a Justin Allgaier whiskey, car just came in, color chrome, you could get that at the original advertised cost without paying that tariff markup. So with that, I think we have quite a bit to discuss. I'm indifferent to where we start. The one last fact to chew on there in the total conversation is that Lionel, through their payment ordering system, Chip, you figured this out by trying it. But when they first announced it, I did some mock-up orders, didn't see it anywhere in there. You did some orders later, and it showed that the surcharge was being applied at the conclusion of the sale against the base price of the item we are paying as the buyer, not what it was assessed at when it came in the country, which is legally the way they're supposed to do it based on discussions I've had with my father and other individuals in the construction industry and other that imported goods and materials from outside the country, like steel, copper, wiring, electricians, and how they basically assessed it and how they're assessed when it comes in. So I have a couple issues with that. I'm sure everybody else does. So with that, who wants to go first? Give us their take. Floor is yours, gentlemen.
First off, I want to say that I think that this kind of ties somebody like Brent's hands. He has to pay the light bill for his own company, and so he's got to do what he's got to do to make things meet on his end. I don't think he's going to go out there and say, "I'm going to charge you 10% just because I want to." He's doing it because he has to. So on his side, I think he's got his hands tied. Um, as far as the discounting the already in stock items, I think that was something is almost a gift, right? He was trying to help his sellers out, the people that sell through him, and so I think he is doing the best that he can given his situation, right? So he doesn't make the product; he is just a wholesaler of the product. And so I think he's doing everything. I don't know what he could do to do better. I mean, you could say, well, he could just eat the charge. That's a tough pill to ask him to swallow, right?
Mhm.
To just
Yeah.
say he's gonna eat the whole thing, and he's just gonna be like, don't worry, guys, I got you. I don't think you could really ask him to do that. So as far as the Circle B and Brent stuff goes, I think his hands were tied, and I think that's kind of where he's at. And I think he's trying to help his buyers out. You mentioned something with the tariff. So we found, or me and Alan found a car that was exactly the same.
Yep.
However, it's got an autographed version of it. So I'll talk on that a little bit. So the standard car has a tariff on the price of $75. So I think the tariff wound up being, what was it, $3.75?
Yeah, it was like $3.75, something like that.
Okay. The exact same car coming in as autographed, though, is being tariffed on the retail price of $150.
Yep.
That to me is a little bit funky because the car didn't cost Lionel any more to get it in. So obviously they're not running the tariff against their cost, they're running it against our cost.
And that brings up a great point. I don't want to take it away from you if you're getting ready to go here, but something I didn't even pick up or think about when we first went into it. They're charging us a tariff for the autograph itself. I don't remember the autograph coming across the boat in China.
Well,
Wyatt Miller didn't fly to China, sign it, and come back. So
something else that you've got to figure. So that
if it did, there's another problem.
Yeah.
That final price. So whatever you look at of any of the cars, right, autographed or not, built into the price of the car is the licensing fees.
Yep.
The licensing fees are not tariffed because the licensing takes place here and it's not a physical commodity, right? You are literally Lionel signing a piece of paper saying we will pay you for the rights, for the sponsor, for the driver, for the manufacturer. So everybody said, well, we're only paying a 5% tariff. Well, you're paying more than you think you are. It doesn't cost Lionel $75 to make a car, first off, because they're a business and they have to make money. Okay. I understand that. So first of all, they're a business and they have to make money. Two, they've got the licensing fees on there. And that to me was just a little fishy. So even though they're saying, hey, we're taking the 20%, the 5% that you're paying is probably more than the 20% that they're actually paying.
Yep, I agree.
I mean, that wouldn't something like that fall into? I mean, I don't know. I don't watch enough of the news to ultimately follow up with it, but I mean, just to sit and think about that, wouldn't that put wouldn't it kind of classify that as, I mean, for lack of a better term, fucking price gouging? I mean, you're charging us tariffs on something, like I said, our cost here, not the cost to get the car here, but you're charging us for a tariff for something that you're not paying for, being not only an autograph that happens here. I mean that the more you get into that, I mean that's just friggin' insane. I mean that's almost like the bullshit you heard about with the storm and everything that happened in North Carolina and the price gouging everybody for fuel. And I mean, that's freaking insane.
And I lived that, by the way. That was not very fun.
Well, but I'm saying, I mean, wouldn't that fall? I mean, not to that extreme, but I mean, I mean, you could almost place that in the same talks.
Well,
Yeah,
whether
I mean,
whether they like it or not, they're getting their money back without you realizing it. But Chip made a great point. With the autograph versions, they're getting their money back tenfold because they're tax or they're tariffing us more than what they should.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
To give you some comparisons here, if Lionel, we'll just take, back in the day, Brent accidentally released in his sales emails the wholesale price. Now that's not what Lionel paid for him, but what he's getting from Lionel. So even if we just use that as an example, back in the day, the ARC cars were non-special finish were, I believe he was paying $50 a car, maybe slightly less. Okay.
I thought it was 35, honestly. I thought it was 35 or 40.
You're right. I think it was lower. Maybe it was a special.
He was selling them at the time. He was selling them for 50. And they were
That's
coming
right.
in at 35, 30 or 55, something like that.
Yeah.
But if the base cost of the car, and this is, I've got my, so I created a spreadsheet that had all this just because I wanted to do the math. I like numbers. Like, okay, if Lionel applies the tariff here, how does that impact the pricing, and how much it's going to be? If Lionel's paying, let's just assume it's $25 a unit. The tariff there associated per unit is $1.20. We, on the same car, that let's just say that's a standard elite. What's a standard elite right now? 105, 110?
115.
All right.
Or no, it's
115.
100. Yeah.
That jumps to 550. So their profit margin on that, at what they're assessing us at that 5% is 5x.
Well,
So they're making a profit off of the tariff by applying it in the wholesale versus on the base unit price when it comes into the country, which is when the tariff is actually paid.
yeah. Here's my thing is they don't really they're going to do that because they don't want you to know exactly, because you can go in if you say they apply what they got in it tariff wise, then you can go back and figure out what their real cost is and how much they're really gouging you. So that's why they're doing it. So
yep, I would say they're probably paying $1 $1 in tariffs per car. It would be my guess on your elites.
Oh, yeah.
Roughly $1 to
And
$1.50, and your ARCs probably 50 to 75 cents.
I would bet money in the next 6 months to a year they'll raise the price of each car too.
Yeah, that could be true.
Because right now a Elite Premier, which I'm sure we would have got into later, the Premier Elites are 140, 150 if it's a race win.
Yep.
So
that tariff jumps to $7 in increased cost a car. At 140, it's $7. That's no autographs. So your price just jumped $7.
When we the cars that you said after after March 6th, you said.
Mm-hmm.
So when we agreed to buy these cars, that shit wasn't on there, and they shouldn't be allowed to do that for anything until it's the stuff that we order now.
Yep. So
that's going to be
ridiculous.
That's going to be quite the battle, I think, because I've already been in talks with several people who were like, I have receipts, and they are far wiser than this redneck diecast collector here. But what they're essentially saying is my receipt is a purchase agreement, a contract. Yep. And they are saying that you are messing with a purchase agreement. So on the tariff front, I actually don't have a problem with it. If you got to tariff me, so be it. It needs to be fair. It needs to be right, but I don't have a problem with it. What I do have a problem with is if you can go and adjust a tariff on one of my orders, well, then what's to stop you from saying, well, this car turned out to be pretty rare. Why don't we just say this car is going to cost $20 more? Or, we've had a down sales year, so we're just going to up the base price of the car that you've already paid for $10. If you can add a charge, to something that I have already agreed to pay for an agreed upon price, what's to stop you from raising it again for a random reason? So that's kind of the part that I have a little bit of a problem with is the going back to something that I already have ordered. And again, I don't necessarily have a problem with the tariff. Obviously, it's probably here to stay, but I just want it to be fair. If I were to find out that this was a way for them to actually make money, that would make me mad. And if they can, there's some things that we're going to need to have a little bit better explained to us, I feel like.
Well, I think with what Chip was talking, the point Chip hit there, my big question will be, so we understand where the tariffs are coming from. And I agree with Chip. I mean, if it needs to be done, I don't necessarily see a problem with the actual tariff itself. But if you're going to go back and you're going to adjust what's already been paid for, an agreement that I've already made with you for a car that I pre-ordered, I also would like to see not just an email saying, well, because of this, we're going to have to raise we're going to have to raise your price. But so there's nothing that's safeguarding those guys. There's nothing for those guys that if that order was placed before the tariff was implemented, are they even getting charged those tariffs on all the pre-orders?
Yeah, did they prepay?
So if these were orders that were placed before the tariffs went into place, how are they going to charge us tariffs on something that they may not be getting hit with tariffs for?
The tariff hits when it gets here.
So,
not when they order it. It's when it gets in the dock.
So a couple things that I wanted to point out, or just for like to your points, broader discussion. All right. So they said in their email they're going to apply to all existing orders that haven't been filled and future orders at this rate. And they also reserve the right to adjust it later. So let's say you order Denny's race win today. Let's say it's going to be 125, and you know right now the tariff assessed is 5%. You also know that 6 months from now is probably when you're going to get that car at the soonest. What if the tariff goes up to 10%? I ordered it today, understanding it was 5, and I still accepted, okay, I'm going to take that $7 increase, $8 increase to my cost. At 10%, it doubles. Now it's $14 increased. Now, if you lock in that tariff, and again, to your point, Chip, and this is kind of my argument, the hillbilly with a law degree. I stayed in a Holiday Inn Express, and I took some law classes for my cybersecurity degree. So in those law 101 and contractual law, I had to study a lot of this stuff. I'm not a lawyer, but for cybersecurity, because of personal privacy information, financial law, things like that, because of the field. One of the first things you go over is how sales contracts, are verbal or written, work, and end user license agreements, all those kind of things, and protection of data. Those sales receipts you get a PDF copy, you get an email copy. If you go and pull yours, I went and pulled mine so that I have a record. There's no language in either email or PDF that states these prices are subject to change. It already has the taxes formulated, it has the discount included, it has the shipping included, and it has the base price. So if you alter any of that, you have now changed the terms of the agreement. That's a contract modification.
Yeah.
And it takes both parties to sign off on a contract modification in law. So you've terminated the rights to the agreement. So I emailed Sharon at Lionel because one of the questions I wanted to know was, you've now modified the contracts, these binding sales agreements, to say, I agreed when I entered into this agreement, I pre-ordered this car, and I accepted the terms that there's a $30 cancellation fee on any special order, special finishes, or Premier Elites, because those are also made to order, if I cancel them. And in turn, you're guaranteeing they're going to be produced if they hit the minimum quantity so that you get a certain return. Well, you changed the sales agreement there. Am I now able to cancel without paying that penalty? Because I didn't violate the agreement, you violated it. If I had to pay the $30 if I violate it and back out before it comes, you violated it in this case, in that you changed the cost of the agreed upon item total package. How does that work? So I sent her an email like, is there going to be any repercussions? Do I have the right now to cancel these within the company's perspective? Not legally. Legally, I know we can. Now, are any of us going to get together and go get a lawyer to fight Lionel and all their lawyers? No. You lose way more money than you got tied up in it. But if the entire diecast community got together and put together a class action lawsuit against Lionel, that's a different story altogether. But that's one of the things I wanted to know was, how does that change the
You haven't heard back though, right?
No,
she was on vacation.
She'll get back to me on Monday probably, or Tuesday, when she catches up with her email. So we'll see what she has to say.
You mentioned the diecast community. You mentioned the diecast community, and that's something that I wanted to touch on. I had some notes on it. So I just pulled a random car up, and Josh Berry's Las Vegas win ARC through Lionel. It is, if with me having a platinum discount, shipped is $105. $105 through Lionel. That is because it's a $10 upcharge for a race win.
Yep.
It is a $5 upcharge for full numbers.
6.
And 6, yeah. So My question is, are we getting close to losing the novice collector? How,
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody keeps talking about, well,
100%.
so what is, for somebody like me, Tony's retired, thank the Lord. But if he was not retired, if a car pops up, I'm gonna buy it. If I got to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to be able to afford it, I'm gonna buy it. But I'm a diecastaholic. If you have a novice,
Are they making dragsters? I don't know.
I will. If you want,
They're
I will show
supposed
you.
to.
I have last year's. It's in the case. I'll pull it out if you want to see.
They do. Auto World makes them, and they're fantastic.
It's a beautiful die cast, and I'm ready for this year's. I'm all jacked up because we made the finals today, but we lost a Clay Milliken. But anyway, sorry, sidetrack.
Sorry. That was me.
I guess I won't watch that later.
Oops! Spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
That's two spoilers he's gotten today.
But for us, I don't have a problem if it's something I have to have, and I look at a Tony Stewart diecast as something that I have to have. Where is the breaking point for someone that would say, "Oh yeah, I might order one of those," versus I just can't justify that. And I think $105 for an ARC is tough, and then the Elite is several dollars more. And I found this funny. I was talking to Alan about this earlier. Even though it's just one car, it costs $2 more to ship an Elite than it does an ARC. Because in Lionel, an Elite is in a higher price point in shipping. So how much more can the novice race fan take before you're just not able to say, sure, I'll buy that diecast?
Can I speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely.
Because I think, I know Alan fairly well. Blake, definitely through some of these processes on the Facebook page, getting to know Kevin, but I've dealt with, as far as on diecast side, not on a personal level as far as any conversations per se, but I've dealt with Chip for quite a while. But that being said, I really haven't been in the diecast game very long. I came in, sitting and looking at it. I think as far as overall conversations, I'd probably talk to, I'd have to go back through my messages, but I think maybe 6 years ago, I think was about the time, well, maybe 8 years ago now, was when I bought my first diecast. But the more I get into it now, and I've had this discussion with Blake, the only wins that I've actually bought as of recently are Larson's wins for the races that I've been to, for that simple fact of, I just in the limited amount of time I've been in the hobby, looking even before we got to this point, for me, it wasn't worth ordering some of these cars because the quality is garbage. And especially if you get some of these guys that get to the point like me, where you talk to some of these guys that have collected for quite a while. And I now have some cars in my collection where you look at what even the ARCs were 6, 7, 10 years ago compared to what the Elites are now. They're not even close. I'd rather take an ARC from 10 years ago than an Elite nowadays, especially for the prices they want to charge.
Yep. So I did a thread online. I think it's this iteration of the forum. It might have been on the past iteration. Conveniently, every time we have a mutiny, for everybody who's listening, they conveniently have to update the forum, and all of our conversations are lost and we start over. So we're on the verge of having a mutiny over the tariff thing right now, if you're on there and you follow the group. Lionel hasn't nixed the discussion yet, but to your point about discovering, length of collection. So for some past history, when I was a kid, 6, 7 years old, my uncle was an RCCA dealer. for RCCA back when they came in the white checkered white boxes and everything. And even the 164s were labeled and they had the pop-up hoods and everything. And he collected sets and he would go to the races, Bristol, Richmond, Charlotte, and sell them out of the back of the trunk of his car back in the day. And so I started collecting back in the early 90s. I had these haulers and the little 124 or 164 scale that mixed and matched, and they were all serialized, and it was awesome. And the detail was pristine, and I would collect them. So I've been collecting a long time, both not of my money and now of my money. And to your point about the pricing, Chip, and I want to get to, I have a question for Kevin as somebody who's trying to start this that I don't want to forget to get to, but I remember leading up to 2017 specifically when we had all this feedback to Thomas and them, and they were working with us to build in features we wanted to see under the elites. I feel like 2017 was the pinnacle of the elite after the 2012 era of jewel cases, where it kind of 2012 was really fully loaded. Then it kind of reset in 2013 when they started with the Gen 6 and kind of tore some features back down. The ARCs were in the $60 to $70 range. The elites were still reasonably priced. You know, you could get a standard elite for under $100. A liquid color and color chrome were $5 or $10 more respectively. Some of the special finishes, you know, in there, $5 to $15 more max. Now today, that same ARC is now considered an elite today, and it has less features under the hood in the details. It has less in the suspension, and it's not
no trunk open.
It's a wrap. So it's not paint like it was before. It doesn't have the same weight, the same feel, the same packaging, and we're paying more. Now, obviously, costs change, but your elites from back then that you could get for 105 or whatever, at the time when we were doing it leading up to 2017, I think they barely crossed into the 100 and whatever mark. But
they
now
were 110. They were 110 and 2016.
Yeah. So now we pay the same price, but they don't have tethers. They don't have hinges. They don't have any of that stuff. They don't have the really detailed suspension like they had before. They have some of it, but not all of it. They definitely don't have the engine detail that they had. And the ARCs that are priced there are essentially what were the winter circle cars that you get at Walmart. That
I've got one right here, and look at this.
Yeah,
you can just hear it. It's winter circle. That's all it is.
Yep. The most expensive thing is the body. The rest of it is just a plastic chassis. So back to your original question, are we pricing folks out of the market? I think as a collector, think yes. I mean, I'm with you. Thankfully, Harvick's retired, Gordon's retired, Kenseth's retired, Junior's retired. So the guys that I collected, the majority of around this room, thank God they don't drive anymore. So I don't have to keep buying their cars. And I've got pretty much every one of them I wanted.
But you are addicted to Busch beer schemes.
Yes, but I like my beer and my liquor schemes. So I still have cars I collect. I've got my Ross Chastain ones over here, and they look nice. But I can definitely go back, and I have a pre-order list in my Microsoft OneNote. I remember when I became an RCCA Elite member myself, and I wasn't going through other RCCA Elite members to get things that were in the Thursday Thunder or whatever. My spending from 2013 to less than 10 years now has been reduced by at least 8 times over. You know, I would spend $5,000 to $7,000 a year on cars that I had to have because I collected Gordon or Stewart or whoever. And now I think I ordered a grand total, if I look right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 15 cars last year total. Down from probably 100 at one point in time to 15. Now, how many people out there are like me that are Donald Karp, we know, Mitch Mitcherson, he just flat out got out altogether. Wolf got out altogether. Some of these other guys got out together. Chip, you sparingly collect now. Now you follow Tony over in the auto world side of things with the NHRA stuff. But to best answer the question, I think, on whether or not are we pricing somebody out, Kevin, to your side, you got all those boxes behind you. You're entertaining the thought of becoming a reseller or a Lionel affiliated dealer. how does the tariff price increase hurt your business options for getting started? Because you're not officially there yet. Right now, you're going through somebody else. You want to, start your own and build out your own business. Well, if Brent's got to do this, obviously you would have to do some kind of cost. Well, how does that hurt you and your ability to onboard customers, advertise the market, justify the cost, move gear, floor is yours, sir.
It honestly decreases my urge to do it, because I'm going to turn around and get cars in, and weeks later, going to be like, well, this one costs this, but this one by the same driver that looks very similar, but it's just a different sponsor. I got it 2 weeks later. This one costs this. It's like, how do you explain that?
Yeah.
I mean, Lionel's just gonna up and increase prices, and it's an arc, but this arc's gonna cost this. This arc's gonna cost this. They were from the same season, and they neither one was race wins, or both were race wins, but this one's more expensive than the other just for when it came out. And honestly, with all the quality control issues that I've dealt with over the last few years, I mean, like you said, they're wraps now. And I mean, they're just like, you get them, and it looks like somebody just took their thumb and just smeared the sponsors down the side of the car, and how does that pass quality control? I don't understand. The windows are out, I mean, windshield's missing. I mean, like, they just don't, you can just tell by holding one versus the old ones, the quality, and the weight, which it's better for shipping because it's lighter, but the quality's just gone downhill, and you just keep raising the prices. And
I actually educated a dealer one time in his store. He was like, "Why do you buy these older cars?" I said, "Hold on, I'll show you." I walked over to his wall. He had all the cars out on the little clear acrylic things up on the shelf where the kids couldn't get to them, and then he had the boxes in the back or whatever. It was an adult collectible store. I went over and I grabbed, I think at the time it was a 2011 Ryan Newman ARC Army car. And then I grabbed one from, I was still living in Virginia Beach, so 2015, I think, ARC. I grabbed both those cars. I came over, I set them on his glass countertop where he's got his POS system, and I flipped them over. I said, that right there is why I buy this and not that more often. You could see the plug wires, you could see the springs, the shocks, the drive shaft, the steering box and everything on the older car. You didn't have that in the newer car. They'd reduced the pieces. I said, and these two cars cost the same thing, and we're not that far removed in era. What's the difference? The whole under chassis is the same except for the body, literally the same. In that particular issue, you could do a body transplant. So why is that that we've now got less?
The next gen car has made it completely great for Lionel.
Yep.
All they gotta do is stick that plate on the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the plate for the Elite,
it's made it perfect
is like an actual. It's not plastic. The plate for the Elite is actually more expensive, they say.
So there's 3 plates. There's the plate for the ARC, not removable. Plate for the Elite, removable, but still plastic. Plate for the Premier Elite is metal with a stamp plate on it, with a serial number on it. But yeah, go ahead.
He was talking about quality. I was lucky enough to get the All-Star Race Gold. I think it was 36 produced. I was lucky enough to get one. And when I got it, this hood hinge was broke on the inside. And so while it was riding from China over here to the wonderful place, North Carolina, to my house, it was scratching the A-pillar the whole time and into the fender some. I get it, and 1 of 36. You give Sharon a call and you go, hey, this 1 of 36 car is messed up. What can I do? Well, you can send it back. Well, you don't have any replacements. Well, no. So I mean, they helped me out. They gave me a little bit of money back, but I ended up fixing the car. I had to basically cannibalize another next gen car to be able to fix this. But I can never sell this knowing that it came to me broke.
Yeah.
This is a $500 car now, maybe six, depending on who wants it. But I can't sell it because of the quality issues. And that main thing has happened a ton since the next gen car because of the whatever happens underneath the hood during shipping or production. That small little probably 1 cent part breaks and it ruins a $250 car in this case.
Yep.
Well, it's horrible packaging is the biggest problem.
Well, at least it's better than what they had in 2018. I'll say that when they had the
Yeah.
black felt with no security whatsoever. They just set it in there, the clamshell. That was the worst damn idea. I think
How
that
many
was when I started
scores did they
canceling
break?
cars left and right.
Yeah, it was worse than 2022 with the
Yeah, with
rid of the box altogether.
no nose, whatever. I got one of them back here. Yeah,
that was ridiculous.
With this shit,
So I want to ask Kevin.
The half open box where the front's like there's no structural protection whatsoever.
Exactly. Yeah. What the hell?
That's what the sponsors wanted.
Allegedly.
The sponsors wanted that supposedly so when they displayed them on the thing, you could see the sponsor on the hood.
Like
why not
in the
have it
when
put
they're
on
selling
the
them?
fucking box?
Yeah.
But Chip had a question. Chip had a question for Kevin there, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's up?
So, you talk about having to explain the price differences to a customer. I don't even know how you do that because most of the people are a spur of the moment buyer, right? They see something like, "Ooh, I'd like to buy that," and anytime you see something negative, they're like, "Well, that doesn't make any sense." So, to keep them at the table or to keep them,
exactly.
I think first of all, I gotta say you're very brave for wanting to enter this type of sales because I don't know, it's crazy to think about where it could go. I mean, one of the longest lists that you will see is the DMP list, which is another thing. Lionel used to update it. Now it's up to us to kind of dig through and find what is and what isn't going to be made. And which, if you've ordered that car and it's not going to be made, you get sent an email. I get, but the list this year is pretty big, and you can't just say that it's the no-name drivers because I know there's a Blaney that's on the DMP list. I'm sure
a lot of Larson.
That's you're talking HMS driver, Penske driver that's not going to have a particular scheme made. And I don't know. It's a gutsy thing to go out and to try to start a new business. And I not trying to scare you or anything, but it makes me want to know what do you do to get somebody to buy from you versus straight from Lionel, and what do you do to not convince them, but to try to tell them that this is what the car costs because of this. I mean, explaining that to, I've said this word already, explaining that to the novice collector is going to be difficult, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. We're kind of getting into the wild, wild west with it all. It's it's getting crazy with it. And that's what's kind of holding me up on becoming a dealer, because you're coming to the point where if I wade off into it, what do I really do? Like, am I going to have to ask half down on pre-orders? How am I going to approach things? Because like you said, like Alan said, you never know when they're just going to raise it again. So, I mean,
and that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you, like from a business plan perspective. And I think about this because you've got the couple of venues you're in. with the two hobbies you're doing stuff with. And then like I own a bar with my wife in New York, and we struggle with the pricing game right now. Like, how do we break it? Like, just break even. Forget profit. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out how I break even all the time with electric costs increasing, food costs increasing, propane costs increasing,
Yeah, New York.
inflation. Like, I'm trying not to inflate my prices all the time and drive off my customer base, but I can't help anybody or serve anybody if I'm out of business because I can't pay my bills. And it's a tough business to be in as a restaurant owner. So I can only imagine trying to start in a goods and services business that's not a food where, people have to eat. People don't have to have this. This is more of a disposable income hobby. And to your point about how much you have to have down, that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you from a business plan perspective of, if you take Lionel's approach of MTO and say there's a $30 cancellation fee, or you take some of the other adult collectibles out there like the action figure market or some of those where they say this is like a $500, $600 item, we're going to require like a $40 down payment. And if you walk, we're keeping that $40. If you do that and Brent doesn't, for example, then they're going to go to your competition because they still have the ability to cancel. But if you don't and they back out of it, now you take a bath on it in the December timeframe when you've got all this stock. Let's just pretend all that stock is unsellable behind you. You paid $100. Let's say there's 200 cars behind you. You paid $50 a unit, but in order to get rid of them, just because you need to free up space for next year's inventory, now you got to sell them at 25. So you just took a 50% loss. Like, exactly. I don't know how you can justify that in your business plan to do it along with the tariffs. Like, it almost makes it untenable to get into it, I would think. And like you already said, it kind of is dissuading you from moving forward right now because Lionel put in their email, they reserve the right to adjust this fee. They're starting at 5. Yeah. We know they're paying 20, but they're starting at 5 with us. They may move it to 10. They may move it to 15. Brent's at 10 because he's already got to pay Lionel. So he's got to get some of that money back.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it could keep going up. They could decide next week they're going to move it to 10. And the week after that, they're going to move it to 15. You don't know. That's the thing. And, so I mean, that makes me a little more reserved about becoming a dealer. And because I know what I have in what I got now. I know what I can sell it for. But, anything else I order, I mean, could change any moment. Now I know that. So
it's almost like they're putting you in a position that you almost have to set it up as 2 fucking storefronts. One for the old product, one for the new shit.
Exactly.
I mean, just for it to make sense to everybody else, be like, this was
this is the old
pre-tariff.
West. This is the new West.
This is pre-tariff. This is post-tariff. Yeah.
So what is the breaking point? So, and that I touched on it earlier. At what point do you think this is not sellable? So we talked about 105 right now for an ARC. What is the point to where you're like, there's no way I can sell this. There's no way I can move this. I mean, it's all hypothetical, I know, but if you get to a point to where it's 120, 150, where do you draw the line in the sand and say, they're not going to buy this? Because I was thinking about that earlier. At what point, obviously for Tony, I said I was going to buy it anyway, but for someone else, at what point do I say, I'm not buying that? I'm not, I'm not going to spend the money on this. And where do you think the line in the sand is? Where do you think?
I feel like we're walking a fine line as it is.
I think we were already there.
Yeah, with the increase in prices, the decrease in quality, the fact that Lionel can just slap a damn because of the way the real cars are made now, they can just slap a plate on the bottom. They don't have to show you any detail. Is like, it's a win-win for them. So, I mean, it's not, and that's another thing with the tariffs. Granted, this is another thing. There is no telling what they're actually making these cars for and then what they're charging. So they don't want you to know what little they're actually making them for. So they're just going to oppose the percentages the way they want to us.
I think to your question, Chip, about where's the line. So I think your diehard collectors, we're at the line, or we're over it. One of the two. We're either at it or over it because you see the folks we all know, either by name or in person from being at the Lionel meetings or the get-togethers at the track or the forum or the collector groups that we've known for a long time that have either parted out their stuff and walked away or they've scaled back entirely. I think we're at the line for the diecastaholics like us, most of us anyway. I think to your point of casual collectors though, what I could see happening, I think we're on the line or right up to the edge of if Lionel doesn't make some changes, you're going to start to see the casual collectors step back because $100 bill is not a small thing to give up in this day and age. So, especially with the 14% inflation roughly that they estimated that we incurred under the last presidency, which impacted all goods, services, food, whatever. So, and that hasn't gone anywhere yet. And now we're adding tariffs to the mix. What I hope doesn't happen, but I do see happening if this stays around for the next 4 years while Trump is in office, politics aside, just like when we had the elites in 2017 and then we got a reset in 2018 because of a new chassis. I could see just as we just got the premier elites, I think the premier elites go away completely because they're going to be too expensive and they're not going to sell them. Like you saw the MTO was supposed to be 100 units and they're making them at 50 instead. They're not even attempting to produce 100.
I have something for that though.
Yeah. And then I also see, because to your point about what they can get away with the flat bottom cars, I can see the current Elite, which is nothing more than a bona fide ARC from 2017, quickly digressing to what we pay today for an AR to becoming an ARC, but to get us back down to a price point that's more palatable. And then at that point, I think your ARCs become hood open cars. They at most, or not hood open, they become hard tops. They just become fixed, no feature.
They become truck series.
Yeah, they become trucks.
Yeah.
So
no flaps.
That's where I think it could go. That's not what I want to see happen as a collector. But if they do that, I mean, that will definitely push further, diehards away because they don't want that lack of detail. They want the quality product, and if they can't get it, they just won't buy it. So, but Blake, go ahead.
So, I bought ARCs up until about 2017. That's when I met 2016, I think actually, is when I met Mitch Harris. And he explained to me all the detail. I just didn't, I had no clue. ARCs were fine. He showed me that and I was hooked. The thing is I think you might remember, Alan, I don't know if they took this because we actually emailed and called and said we should have a higher end elite. You remember that when we did that about 4 years ago? We called Lionel. All of us called and said, "Hey, there is a market for a better, detailed car." Well, I went from elite to Elite Premier for whenever they do offer it, I will buy it for the race wins. That's what I do now, and I buy it because, in my mindset, with inflation, that's what the old elites would be right now is 140 or 150. Would you agree? That's what they would probably be right now.
Yeah, roughly.
Yep. So that's why I'm okay with that, but I am not okay spending. The car I showed earlier, that's the 17 Xfinity car. I'm not okay with the price that I had to pay for this. This is not okay to spend $85 for a plastic nothing, essentially. I mean, yeah, it's got the wrap of the car that he won with, but Coda, I believe this is.
Oh,
but,
let me see that. I've never seen that paint scheme before.
There you go. So it's the scheming one Coda, it's the car he won Coda with, but it's like, I had to pay 85, I think $90 for this car, and it's not worth it. It's just not. And But I'm okay with the Elite Premier because it has the detail. It comes with a nice case. But if they went higher, I would probably be priced out because I don't make the money that some people do that are in the
Pardon me.
hobby.
And I will say that, to your point, and maybe my prediction is wrong. Maybe what will happen is the Elite Premiers would supersede like the standard Elite. I enjoy the Elite Premier, to your point, because I do feel like we're getting back to that classic Elite. You get that nice hard case, you get your little insert. This is Byron's win last year. You get that Elite gold foil sticker. You get the numbered slips we were all missing.
You got Reddick's Jordan car right here.
Case from back in the day, the little car cover, and then it comes on that, hardened base. So it's an overall much better package, but it's
and this just
shows
this just shows what they can do. And I don't, we've come down pretty hard on them. The five of us have come down pretty hard on them. This is where I'm gonna, I guess, flip it back. We know they can do it.
Yes.
We know that they can give us a beautifully done Elite with a beautiful card and a very nice case. And we know that we can have all those things. And we want them because as a diecastaholic, I want the best. I need the best. I want to be able to have it. It's just we've got to be able to feasibly have it, to feasibly get it, and to the end of, if it becomes a $300, $400 card, okay, that's going to price a whole bunch of people out.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the end of the day, we want it, and so hopefully through politics, through whatever, hopefully we can get them to be able to stay at a feasible point so that we can continue to have them versus not everybody being able to afford them.
I just showed that 17 car off, and it's this weighs twice as much. This is an Elite nationwide car. Yep. And it's almost double the weight.
Yep.
It's 3.5 to quadruple the amount of detail. And we can't get it anymore because a few people complained about the price. Yeah, this was an $80 car. And now 90 gets you this. It's ridiculous. And the fact that when you ask them, is there any talks about making a Elite Xfinity again? They go, nope. You can't even pose the wheel on the wheels on this new ARC cars. You can't.
And I do agree with you, Chip. Like, we've come down hard on them as a business, and they don't get me wrong, they deserve the criticism they get, but they also deserve the accolades. Like, I love the Premier Elite that they've come out with. I've got a few of them, not many, and it's only because they didn't come out with them in 2023. If they had, when Harvick was racing, I mean, fuck my wallet, but I would have done it, and I would have been happy about it. My only complaint, and it's smart, but I wish they made the special finishes in Premier Elite, because then I would just have a whole bunch of those.
Me too.
But the standard Elites that they offer in Premier Elite. So right now, the base price of that with the tariff is $147 car. That's a standard Premier Elite. That's not a race win. That's not autographed, and that's not foil numbers. So if the base price is $147, and then you start adding $6 more for, well, no, it's not $6, because the tariff comes based against the base price. So if a foil number, when it's 146, then it climbs by about 20-30 cents. If it's autographed, now it climbs up another $1 or $2. So to your point about the breaking point, I think for the diecastaholics like us that like the Premier Elites, for example, I think you're one tariff adjustment away from being completely priced out, because you're about to take this car from what was a $140 entry point to $175 entry point very easily.
It would take me from buying every car that comes out, like new paint schemes or whatever, which that's only usually throwbacks, or like you have the Hendrick 40th anniversary crap.
Yeah, not many new ones back there.
Those are race wins. I know Kyle Busch
Different
doesn't have
confetti.
money in those lately, but anyway. So
Touche.
sorry, but that would make me have to basically only buy race wins if that. Like I don't there's life goes on. You can't keep spending $170 on a car when it should be 140.
Think about the
But
haulers at the track. So
oh,
that
they're
another thing.
ridiculous.
You don't but they sell. I mean, I
I
gotta
don't
say
understand it either.
they move product to the people that are there at the track.
I get it
And
because alcohol served there.
well,
you
at
and
what
shipping,
point
like you call it the novice buyer. Those are novice buyers that don't know any better.
Yeah,
Exactly.
at
they
what
don't know any better.
point did they walk up to the hauler? At what point did they walk up to the hauler and go, "Holy crap, I can't swing that"? Like, you think about what's on the hauler. The diecast, I'm pretty sure I'm very comfortable in saying this is the most expensive thing on the hauler. Maybe a jacket, but probably I'm just maybe a helmet, but the diecast is up there.
I mean, yeah, they're good. I'd say $20-$30 higher on the hauler than they are.
So at what point are the guys at the haulers struggling to move them? So it's muddy waters where we're headed. I gotta say I love this sport and I don't want to see it suffer because we can't move the product. I can't buy them all. You can't buy them all. So I'm not gonna make the car meet minimum order quantity on its own. And
and that's another aspect to look at in the whole thing too. Even from when I first started collecting, look at the numbers that are put out now. The numbers aren't even near what used to be. And I'm not talking about the 90s when they were producing them in the tens of thousands. I'm talking about even 500, 600, 700. I mean, how many cars come out with that many produced now? So if
usually just
the
race
amount,
wins.
What's that?
Usually just race wins. Regular schemes don't really go that high anymore.
Yeah, but even then, what would be the highest nowadays?
Highest?
I mean, yeah, the highest production number that's coming out
600,
nowadays.
700.
Yep. So
no, you remember how many was that Gravedigger car, Alan? I think that's the best.
1,000.
Look at it.
It was like 1,100, something like that.
Yeah.
Well,
Total
hey,
it's like $3,000, 3,000 cars.
Look at what Chip was saying about the DMP list. I mean, we're already seeing our decline.
Yep.
With how many are not getting produced. So
well, the Larson car
DMP'd before this even happens.
We're just tired of the same damn scheme 6 years in a row.
So to the point of
behind
cost,
you, yes.
So this is the first year I didn't buy. This is the first year I didn't buy his car, his regular scheme.
I pulled up the Elite Premier page, and that's basically the top end car. So this is the Diecastaholics car. All right, the base cost to us, and the Elite Premier is only available to basically Lionel Elite people. Most of them are platinum, so I'm just going to assume everybody gets the discount. If everybody's getting the discount, $140 car just with our discount brings it to $128.80. If you add, and that's your car before taxes and shipping, no tariffs involved. If you take that same car and you add a tariff to it, it increases it to the total of $135.24. So you've gone up $7 and some change. Now you take that same car, you make it a race win or foil numbers. 156 is a race win with foil numbers. That's Josh Berry. 156.
Add your 6% sales tax for Kentucky.
Well, I haven't. Since sales tax varies, I'm leaving that out. I'm just talking the base price of the car to us buying changes. That $128 car is now $143.52 with our diecast discount before tariffs. With tariffs, it becomes where'd it go? So with tariffs, that $156 car drops down to $150.70 with our discount and our tariff included. So you're jumping them $10 essentially, and then once you start adding taxes and everything, there's a $10 to $15 difference between where that cost point is, and so that's where I say, like, you're almost to, we haven't added shipping yet, but you're almost at $175. and I think they charge $10.99 for shipping. So if we add to $10.99, you're at $166 and like $167. We'll just call it.
I want to mention a group that
You're
I
not
guess
far
gets
from pricing
overlooked.
yourself out in my mind.
A group that, I don't really collect them because I guess not since I was little, but these guys right here.
Yeah.
When we get to a point to where parents can't buy these for the kids, and not just saying they're kids' toys, but when we're getting to a point to where the 164s are like, man, I can't spend.
They're already there now.
They're
So
15, like 15 a piece right now.
So I mean, you get to that point, and that this is what drives them too. If you can't get the 164s produced, then you're in some troubles too. So it's across the board. It's tough, and I hope that the message that I get out of this is I hope we can right the ship. I really, really do, because
Well,
I don't want to see a time where we don't have them. I don't want them. There are pictures and T-shirts and stuff. Those are great, but for us, we want that die cast. We
well,
want to
they've
hold the
already
car
they've
that we
already quit
saw.
making these. They've already stopped making the winter circles, which were a lot nicer than the normal on the Walmart shelves.
The Lionel 164th diecast is $11 right now before anything.
Yep.
$11 for
And
a
the
new
tariff
new
increases
order.
it by 54 cents per car.
So
Before you get
so
the
to get it
taxes and discount.
so to get
That's
it
before.
shipped, you're looking at $20 to get it shipped to your house.
Yep.
Yep.
For a
For a Hot
164.
Wheels. For a Hot Wheels, you can go into Walmart and buy a Hot Wheels for your kid that's $6-7 still. I do think we're very much on the verge, depending on, now to your point, Chip.
Well, I mean,
that's probably going to change too.
Little collectors become big collectors.
Yeah, they'll go up. The ones in Walmart, the authentics are what, $4.95 or something like that on the shelf.
Well, I'm talking about Hot Wheels in general. I know it's a different subject, but Hot Wheels will go up too.
Yeah, all manufactured outside the U.S.
But I mean, to Chip's point, if the kids aren't being bought the little cars, then they're probably not going to grow up to buy the big cars. So who's going to replace them in our market sphere when Chip finally has every Tony Stewart car they've ever made, and I have every Gordon and Harvick car I've ever made, and Blake's got every serial number of every Hendrick car ever made that has the same paint scheme, where he's won at every track, but you can't tell what track it was won at.
Hey, this has been a scheme. This has been an issue my whole life.
He's got all the color confettis.
Hey, on this over here where you can't see is Texaco have one, and that's all I got to say about that.
So it reminds me of the Home Depot days.
I just in a similar way that the car market has a problem right now with the next generation of buyers, because not millennials, Gen Z and what comes after aren't as enthusiastic about horsepower. It's going to be a similar problem with NASCAR diecast. Like, if you price everybody out and the parents aren't taking them to the races and they're not buying the merchandise because it's been priced out, like, I don't know that we could. I really don't know that the industry as a whole, the diecast industry, can take 4 years of this. I don't know that Lionel survives in a way that is good for them. And the trains cost way more than the cars. So
think about 5% on a $2,000 engine.
Right. So if the diecast people walk away and the train collectors walk away, like, I could see Lionel having to drastically redesign their business model if this lasts for 4 years. I don't know that it will, but we don't know that it won't. I mean, one of the things I meant to bring up earlier, since Kevin's, contemplating financial suicide here, by joining the diecast dealership market. My dad, while we were talking in the group, my dad was an estimator in construction during the first Trump presidency. And depending on what the service was, they had the tariffs and everything that came in. His estimates, when he was estimating bridge projects and stuff to put up signs and all this stuff, his electrical quotes weren't good for more than 24 hours because the way the tariffs were impacting it. I hope we don't get to that part with Lionel, like when you agree that your base price, like the advertised price of a race win on Sunday might be different than it is on Friday the next week, based on how the economics of the world work. The factory might come back and say our new labor cost is X, and so all orders received this week are now this, and Lionel has to come back and update their stuff. Like back to the original point of our one of the points made in our conversation, our bills of sale, our contractual agreements to purchase these cars don't have any language in them that specifies this value being added or being able to be added, but more importantly, no protections to change it, to protect us from it being changed on the fly. So that, if Lionel's costs go up 2 weeks from now, then our cost goes up too. And we have no way that I can think of protection wise unless we take them to court. And that's a problem for them collector wise en masse.
Yeah.
You look at it this way. This is something that is a privilege to own.
Yep.
It's not something that we have to have. It's not bread. It's not the power bill. It's not the roof over your head. And all of us sitting here have been very privileged to have what we have sitting behind us, or what are in our cases, or what have you. And so I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose that privilege. And so that's the big thing, is I hope that we can continue to get it sorted out. I hope that hopefully Lionel's working on it. I hope that they are just having meetings going, okay, guys, that didn't go so hot. What can we do? Because I'm sure their phone rang. I'm sure they got some emails. I'm sure they got some order cancellations. Hopefully that they're not just, 5%, you've got it.
Well,
I hope they're working on it.
They need to do the right thing, like what you all were talking about at the beginning. They need to base the tariff off of what they are paying for it, not the end result of what the end, like you were talking about autographed ones. It doesn't.
A flat.
It needs to be a flat thing on what they paid, not
Absolutely.
what the end result is, because that's where the problem is.
Yeah, I think
because I'll say this, even if they applied the full tariff, if they gave us I threw it in my spreadsheet, if they gave us the full 20% they have to pay and pass that on, if they gave it to us at the base price of the unit, and the unit's base price we'll assume is $25, the tariff there to us would be $460 an order, which is still less than if they did it on the $140 car. Which at 20%, if they gave us the full thing, this is where they put themselves out of business completely. The tariff on that car at 20% is $27.
Yeah, you're not going to.
That's the end of diecast collecting for pretty much everybody.
See, this is where I am. Okay, right now, see this behind me?
Yep.
If I don't become a dealer and things get out of hand, I can slowly sell that off, walk away. Once I get in a dealer and I start getting into ordering stuff, then that's where it becomes serious, So
yeah,
and the prizes. So yeah, they've literally tied my hands to just be like, I'm gonna pump the brakes. I'm gonna wait and see what's gonna happen, because for my own good, and and they've got to do what they got to do, but it seems like they're gonna use it. They're going to blame it on Trump and use it to their advantage. That's what it seems like.
Here's something you got to look at. I was about to bring it up a second ago. You all mentioned Lionel Trains. I mean, they're in the same boat we are, right?
Yeah.
That's big money.
They had a site exclusive President Trump Legacy. It's a rail number 4747. The MSRP. This is sold out, guys. $750
for a train.
For a train.
That's nothing. That's nothing.
$34.50 would be the tariff on the train. So $34.50 is the tariff on it at 5%. If we increase that to the 0.2, but we don't know what their increase is, but if they actually charged them the full 20%, let's just say they had to, and it goes up, the tariff on that $750 car becomes $138. I bet you they stop collecting.
Yeah, but I mean that's going to run them out of business too because I mean those guys are high. Those are definitely some
Oh yeah, those are like
wealthy
next
people
level.
buying that stuff.
And I don't know if you guys have heard, but they've just announced they're going to start producing dirt diecasts as well. Dirt racing late models, dirt late model diecasts.
That might
Yes, I do think
change.
I remember. I think Junior mentioned it on one of his shows, maybe at some point last year, where they were looking at the
Yeah,
mold.
the first one is Hudson O'Neal. I don't know if you know who he is.
I've never heard
Hudson
that name.
O'Neal is the
real
first
deal,
one. It just came out, so
Okay.
they're trying to run the. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think who makes the
ADC.
ADC.
Yeah.
They're trying to take trying to knock ADC out now. They've just started. They just made the Hudson O'Neal car. I think they're about to produce a Larson car.
Well,
And
here's the thing. I got their late model that they did for Larson, and this thing's crap. Listen to that. That thing's
yeah,
crap.
yeah,
It's
they're gonna have to make the late models better.
they got
ADC's
to
quality
put
is
detail into them.
ADC's quality on the late models is
But
impeccable.
to your point, they got Blake. So if Blake and all the Blakes out there continue to buy this shit, like I would
They
love
always
to.
got to
First
pick
off,
on
I
them.
love the way super late models look. They're a badass looking race car. But I already told myself I'm not buying that hard top garbage. I will not do it. I don't care how damn good it is. Like I won't buy Dale Juniors, and that liquid color Budweiser is a beautiful car. That liquid color Sundrop was a beautiful car. I'm not buying that trash. I want a real diecast, and you can make it. You've already shown me you can make it with an Elite, and I've already told you as a consumer, hundreds of us have, or you wouldn't be making the Premier Elite, what I'm willing to pay for a top tier car. So make it. But I think they've made their changes in their business policy to they think they've changed from quality to quantity. And they've moved to a quantitative sales method, not a qualitative sales method, where
While
interestingly, the qualitative
dropping
sales
the
method on the
actual
train side works well for
While
them for
dropping
some
the
reason.
numbers.
Yeah.
while dropping the actual quantity.
Yep. And so to what Chip said earlier, I mean, I agree. I think we've been hard on them. Any customer is usually hard on their, you work hard for your money, you expect a certain level of product for it. That being said, I've given Lionel plenty of kudos. I've done video reviews of cars. I love the ones that I have. Like, I have some beautiful works of art in my collection, or I wouldn't have them. My biggest number one issue with this start wasn't that, I understand the predicament they're in. Again, my father worked in construction, so I have some background on it and discussing it with him. And now I do as well with a bar business that my wife and I own. My issue is the messaging. Customers are, think of it like sitting on an airplane. I get so fucking mad when I'm sitting on an airplane and I don't know why we haven't left the terminal yet. And I'm just waiting, and the pilot's like, we're just waiting on it, but they don't tell you, what are they working on? Why are we being held up? Is it a storm? Is it a safety concern? Does the engine need oil? Just talk to me. Tell me what's going on. So the messaging is the biggest issue I have with the entire tariff rollout. You told us what you're going to do to adjust it. You didn't frame it correctly in a way that made it palatable to the consumers. And you just hope that enough of them don't say, well, to hell with you, and I'm not going to order anymore. So they're just kind of leaning on that, where I wish, to your point about working it out, Chip, I wish they would have worked on their messaging more. I would like to have seen them come out and say, okay, we're going to have to add this going forward. However, we understand when you ordered it, you agreed at this price. Either A, we're going to give you the option to cancel without penalty, or B, we're going to lock in your prices for all existing orders as of today at that rate. Any future orders, we're going to apply this. That would be fair, and that makes sense. Then I probably wouldn't have a problem with how they do it from that point on, because I know going forward, when I click that pre-order or I purchase in stock product, what I'm accepting. Right now, I don't know the terms of the agreement, because it just says in the little red print that all these things are subject to change, and they're using that as their CYA, and we have no idea how extreme it could become.
I thought you said it. When like on your receipt though, it didn't say anything about subject to change, right?
No. So what I'm saying is, so if you go to the pre-order page before you click checkout, if you go into, let me go to view cart.
Now it
says additional charges may be added to your invoice to reflect additional state taxes, tariffs, or fees.
So now it's there.
But it says that on the screen. If you go to the PDF, it's not in there in the sales order. That language doesn't appear in your email, and it doesn't appear in the sales contract. And that's the legally binding document.
Mhm.
The web page is not a legally binding document. The final document that's legally binding, if we go into a court, a civil court about it, to honor the agreement, is what I have a copy of.
The other problem, and I'm being ticky tacky here, is they bill you, and then it takes around 7 days to get your product,
or more,
or more, 7 to 10 days sometimes, and it's like, and then you check tracking, and it's still sitting there, still sitting there, still sitting there, still sitting there. Like, do not bill me unless you're ready for that thing to be on a Chris's truck to get out to me.
Well, and so just to talk about the billing, we've all ordered cars, and then you get the shipping notification, the billing notification. I think this is where they're hoping consumers like us won't go back and basically QA them and see how much they actually charged you for that car. We originally agreed on, you might have 5 cars come in all at once on different containers, and let's say they paid a different tariff on each one of those containers. How do you know which car got billed at what if they say, all right, here's the all billed? You got to go through and sort it out and figure out what your cost was. Did they charge you the right tariff because that car was ordered in March and it came in at the same time as this car that was ordered in April, as this one that was from, like, Joey Logano's win is a perfect example. Ordered that, love him or hate him. I have a winner take all shelf over there. Every time there's another championship win, I buy one just because I want to keep that streak alive from 2014 on. I ordered that car back in November. So now you're going to tell me that on top of that car that I've been waiting 6+ months for now, I now got to pay another $10 on top of it at the time, on top of the autographed cost?
I've got better
those
for you.
Autographs were made in America because he's up the road in North Carolina, right from your warehouse. He's going to come sign them before they go out. So
it's not worth it. So you don't have to.
When Larson beat Busher by 0.001, that was what, last May?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That car just got here this past week. For some reason, I haven't been billed for it yet, but I'm going to get billed for a tariff. And
for a car that showed up.
The car you already have, you already have in your possession, you're going to get billed a tariff on it.
Listen, this car has a tire mark on the side of it and no confetti. Okay, you shut your mouth.
That's an expensive tariff right there. So,
that it's got a really nice tire mark though.
The one final thing I wrote down on my notepad that I wanted to bring up. So people like Brent, who, and for the life of me, I can't remember his damn name. I know the guy from Diecast Depot, but I just can't remember his name. Terry, I think. Yeah, Terry. I think, first off, I feel bad for them. I think they're going to take a bath financially this year. I think this will probably be the first year they really file like a major financial loss for their business. And I think they're, all the collectors out there in the community, you go look at the Facebook pages every year. All right, Brent, what are you going to do for Black Friday sales? I don't think he's going to be able to do them. All those bonuses.
It's just going to be the stuff that's left over from past years. That's it's not going to be any new stuff.
Because he did have that in this thing I meant to mention.
It's going to be BLM cars.
They're going to discontinue their free shipping.
Oh shit!
At some point,
Sorry.
He said that was on the table. So I mean, there's
you're not
more money. But if he can't, I'm sure Brent makes a ton of his money at the end of the year in the November, December timeframe for the Christmas stuff and the Black Friday sales.
It's probably going to end up where it used to be $10, $15 off, be just $5 off now.
Yep, he'll either have to reduce them or do away with it altogether. And I won't blame him at all because
it won't be as big.
And honestly, with what happened, I think was it this past year where somebody they got an extra box full of cars. And
they screwed everybody.
Kept it and told everybody about it. I think just that one situation probably he won't have that again.
That's the case of one bad apple, right? One guy ruined it for everything.
Yep.
I didn't hear that. What, somebody got an extra?
So somebody ordered they ordered like say 20 cars, and they got a double shipment and kept them. Wasn't honorable about it. He kept all of them, and then he bragged about it
on Facebook.
And then it got back to Circle B, and well,
yep.
So
what happened was, let's say you and
what a dumbass
fill in somebody's order off of that back row there, and you and Chris don't talk to each other, and you both start filling the same guy's order at the same time, and you don't know that you already marked it shipped and taken care of, and he fills the same invoice. That's exactly what Brent's guys did. They shipped the same order twice, not knowing, and the guy didn't have enough, integrity to say, hey, look, you get an extra car. Not that that's okay, but that's the $70 difference versus $700 in goods and services.
And then you're gonna brag about it.
That's theft.
Yep.
Now the law says it's not theft, but really in reality it's theft. Like, you're definitely morally bankrupt.
That's just that's idiocracy.
He went on Brent's page and bragged. I mean, that was
I think it was on Reddit, wasn't it?
Well, but he did it on Reddit, but then they found him and he went on Brent's. He runs or sponsors NDC on Facebook, and he went on that page and actually bragged about it. That was a little.
Can't fix stupid. It's kind of like
no, can't fix stupid.
When Jeff Gordon's icon went up for DuPont, when they did the rainbow car, the icon, or no, the Ghost, that's what it was. And they were putting out a promo. I messaged Brent. I'm like, did you mean to mark this $200 car down to $50? He's like, no. I'm like, and I sent him the checkout number. I'm like, you might want to fix that because you're about to take a massive wash on these. And I told him, because to me, while I wanted to take advantage of it, it's not the right thing to do.
No.
And at the end of the day, I mean, you got to live.
He gave you one for $50, right?
Huh?
He gave you one for $50.
He did, because he gave me one for $50. He honored the sale price for me because I reported it, not because I asked him for it. But I was like, hey, you've got all these, and right now you can check them out at $50 a piece. So I can buy 10 of them and then turn them around and flip them. Even if I flip them only at $100, I'm still going to make a nice profit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but
so is there anything else we want to talk about with this, just in general, in terms of how you think I guess the last piece is, how's it going to affect you personally? Like me, now that I've looked, I totaled up my pre-orders, for example. I've got an additional, probably from tariff perspective, if nothing changes and they stick to the 5% based on what we figured out, Chip, it'll cost me an extra $90, essentially a whole extra die-cast ARC to pay the tariff differences across the pre-orders I have today, some of which are literally from November last year, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. So it's going to make me rethink about, because now we don't know what the shift left or right could be, whether or not I pre-order that next car, which now runs the risk of DMPing, which is worse. So go ahead. What are y'all thinking?
Well,
I think sorry.
Well, for instance, Larson's Throwback just came out for this coming week, a couple days ago, and I was going to order it right off the bat. But now, because of, it's only a few bucks, but now because of this, I'm going to wait to see if he wins first, because normally I wouldn't care if I had the normal car and the win at the same time.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to see if he wins first, because I'm not going to order
the race win.
Yeah.
You're right. I have the race win. Yeah.
Yeah. And on top of it, like, were you considering, because I think it's either going to be orange or blue will be the drop. I think both will look good. And then there's a couple conundrums that come in with that. What if
I'm not considering any special finishes, because I just can't afford it.
But that's what I was going to ask you. So, if you order the Premier Elite, which they have up, it's $140. But if you also order the liquid color, the color chrome, and the galaxy color, for example, that tends to be the most 3 common they put up now. Well, there's $7 extra per car. So now you're at $28 additional cost just in that order. And then if he wins again, there's another $28. And then if they offer you a gold one, there's another probably
going to be $600-$700 for it.
And if you have to cancel it, for whatever reason,
he better hope Bubba Wallace wins.
No. I will be at the race. I do not want anybody but William Byron, honestly.
So, yeah, I mean, so to your point, you're rethinking your buying that you've done, but I'm thinking somebody like me who, like, if it was Harvick today, right now, normally when I buy a Harvick car, I buy the liquid color. If they offer it in special finishes, I order every single one of them, other than raw, for example, and I can be talked into that. But like the year he
I
retired,
know somebody who did.
yep, I ordered diamond, gold, raw, flash coat, galaxy color. Okay, now you start adding across that. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 cars. And each one of those has between a $6 and a $7. That one order has an additional $70 tacked onto it. Just that one order. We haven't even gotten to the rest of the other stuff for the year. Now, if you do that across all these paint schemes, you're talking about thousands of dollars if you're a major collector in additional cost.
Yep. Hey,
like,
Chip,
at what point do you stop that snowball and just say, I can't do this anymore?
Chip, I talked Alan into buying the diamond Budweiser throwback. Remember that car?
Yes.
I talked him into buying it. We ordered it essentially 5 minutes apart, and he got the door den.
Huh?
Wait,
I bet you feel smart, don't you?
Yeah.
Plan B didn't get the door den?
This was Elite, Diamond Elite.
Yep. So I got the door. I think Blake got number 2.
No, it was 30.
30. Oh, yeah. So I got the door and he got the end of the case, and I got toward the beginning. And then I got him to get me the Budweiser.
They were probably sitting right next to each other, too.
Yeah, we ordered them within like 2 minutes of each other. But still, I mean,
that's funny.
I think of the collectors like Don Carp, like myself, like you were, Chip. Blake, how Blake used to be. Your driver puts up a paint scheme and you pull the trigger and you buy the whole run
Immediately.
Well, now you're not going to do that because you're not talking about $1 or $2. You're talking about $10 or $20 extra per set, or $30 extra per hit.
Yeah.
And that adds up throughout the year. And it usually all adds up in December on top of it.
The last time I did that was when Larson won the championship at Phoenix. I ordered every single one of his finishes for the Phoenix win. So you can't see him in the video here, but there's color chrome, liquid color, flash coat, galaxy, raw, regular, and then there's a regular auto elite as well. So I ordered all of those. So, if he were to win the championship again, there's no way I could do that, especially with the Tariff.
What about you, Chris? I don't know how often you order, but like, how is this going to change?
He usually orders through me.
Yeah. I have. If I do order anything, I have Blake order because, like I said, the only thing I order anymore are the wins that that Larson has for the races I'm at,
and that's usually 80% of them.
Yeah,
he has a really good win percentage when Chris is in attendance.
Three Vegas wins and three Vegas wins and two Wilkesboro.
So
well, for me,
yep.
I don't even want to. I haven't even added it up yet, so it's going to be hundreds of dollars difference and stuff that I've got coming.
Are these the orders you've got coming to like resell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stuff that I've pre-ordered. Yeah. For resale. So yeah, I mean, I haven't even added it up yet. I mean, it's gonna suck. So it's like Chris said, it's almost come to the point where I'm gonna have to differentiate what I have now versus what I got coming in is a whole different thing. So
yeah. Any other thoughts? Any other points we haven't covered? I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anything left for us to talk about, but I could be wrong. Go ahead.
I laid out some cars just to kind of show differences over the years. I know that's not what we got on here for, but we're mainly about talking about tariffs, but I got this car from 1997 that weighs it's a brick.
Just your camera so we can see them all.
Yeah, bring the camera down so we can see better.
Well, you mean here?
Yeah. Bring ye old camera down to the content itself. No, not your hand.
Hold on a second.
Oh no.
6'5", and this dumbass puts the camera on the fucking ceiling.
Yep.
Shut the fuck up, Chris. So anyway, this thing's like a brick, and it's an ARC. You know, it's not even an elite from the time.
Yeah.
In
You know,
97 cars.
Open the hood.
Oh. Hold on.
Look, if you're going to be a showgirl, you got to learn how to. Vanna does this.
Yeah, come on.
Damn, Vanna.
He didn't have the.
Listen, I wasn't ready for it.
Come on, Vanna.
He didn't have the
White.
Q-tip
Let's
ready. And,
Look at that.
mean,
That has
letters.
a nice oil cooler line and a radiator line. That's top quality right there.
He has to talk though because we can't see it.
I hate you, Chris.
You're welcome.
That is an ARC from 97, and here's an Elite from 2021.
It's very detailed, all that black.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Oh, what the? Oh, man, that's beautiful.
You can really see the detail in the blackness. It
I
really
didn't have the
comes through.
toothpick ready.
Hey, this is Lionel's new line. Imagine it.
Imagination.
Yep,
It's
that's
the
the
imagination
next,
line.
That's the next gen.
Look at that right there. Wow.
Oh.
Where'd all the wires go?
Exactly.
Apparently, these cars run without serpentine belts now, and alternators
wires.
free spin.
Yeah.
Things you didn't know. If you're not an automotive, you know,
So,
you don't need all that.
Here's where we get
nonsense.
really pissed. This is the Elite from last year. That's the engine bay for an Elite from 2024.
Yeah, see, this is where they've lost me. And I can't say they've completely lost me because I probably got 100 next gen cars over 3 years, but when you compare that to the other 400 and whatever cars I have, that's not a lot.
No.
I got one more to show if I can get the damn hood open.
Oh, I love it.
Shut up.
It's beautiful. The level of detail there.
This is 2016.
We're the four best friends that anyone can have.
2016's got the
And
hood
then the
feathers.
chip.
Yep, see. There we go.
And even got the target on the underhood.
Yep.
Target.
Target. It's that French store, Target, where you go in for toothpaste and walk out with a whole bedroom set. So,
yeah. And then,
I mean, to your point, but the car comparisons are a valid point because the levels of detail have changed over time with the cost of the cars and cost of materials. You know, I would bet you, if I had to guess, that 97 ARC is probably made with lead-based paint. And it's probably
I can tell it is, to be honest with you.
Taste it and let us know, Blake.
You feel them cancer?
He's sniffing it right now.
Yeah.
But,
there you go.
You know, like I've got
got a little tingle downstairs going.
But not to joke about it, but it is kind of funny because you can go pick up one of those cars from that era or the early 2000s, and you flip over the spray-in chassis, and you can see the paint, you can see the spray-in, and you can see the primer. You know, when there's a chip on some of these cars where they've been dipped and then painted, they're not just a wrap, and that's why they weigh so much more. You know, why the quality, where now, you know, the weight,
Well, look at this one. This is an ARC from 2000. Let's see, and it's got blue wires in there.
Yeah,
that's an ARC.
Yeah, there's different. Yeah, the costs have obviously affected the detail over time, but I think the bottom line with the tariffs is Lionel's on it, and it's a position they were put in. They didn't obviously choose to put themselves in this. This is a economic position every business is put in, but
they're using it to their advantage.
Yeah, they are taking an advantage the way they're applying them, and I do wonder if they're charging us 5% because because 20% would be too much at the top level, so they negotiated to charge us 5 at the top instead of the full 20. However, my math sheet, numbers don't lie. If you just charged us the full 20 at the base price per unit you brought it in, we would still be saving upwards of 50% of the increased cost you're adding per car. And no matter how you shake it out, that's
they don't want you to know how much they're actually paying for these.
You know what? I'm actually okay. I'm gonna get on the old soapbox here. I'm okay with them making money. They are a business.
Yeah, I mean,
It would not hurt my feelings if they told me we make these things for $15 or $20 or $30. It doesn't. They're the only ones in the game.
Yep.
So it's not gonna hurt my feelings. Now I might be the odd man out here, but if it costs them $10 to make it and they sell it for 70, what do you do? I mean, that's what their price is. But again, I just want it to be treated fairly on what they're saying with the tariff. If it's a $20 car and they're being 20% on a $20 car, then give me the 20% on the $20 car. That's what I think most people would say would be fair, because we know, everybody here knows, it didn't cost them 105. It didn't cost them 115. It didn't cost them 150.
No,
we know that, and I'm fine if I found out exactly what it cost them per car to make to get here. They've got to make money. They're a business. They're the only ones in the game. I just want their additional fee to be fair across the board.
Yep,
that's
all I agree. I agree. 100% agreement. I'm not against them adding the tariff. I understand it's the position they're put in. I just want it to be applied in the costing fairly. I don't want it to be added where they think it's the most convenient for them to profit. It's a tax being imposed upon you. I'm okay with you passing it on to the customer because that's how business runs. Nobody's stupid in the additional things that are added. We don't expect you to go out of business. I don't think any collector.
Absolutely.
No problem. Or have to fire people as a result because you can't afford to employ them anymore because you cut business costs. Don't want to see that.
But don't make us think we're getting you're doing us a favor.
Right.
That's definitely not what's happening.
Don't pretend by doing 5% you're doing me a favor. I know your 5% on 140 is not equal to 20% on $25 a unit or even $50 a unit. These two things are not the same thing. So
don't pretend
and communicate it clearly. And I think everybody, for the most part, especially the more knowledgeable collectors, which we're in that high end group, everybody that is in that higher end group, that's probably the ones that are going to make a fuss, are the people with the disposable income, the real adults in the room that have an extra 5-10 grand a year to blow on toys. I mean, I sit in a damn toy room and I'm grateful for it. Nerds get paid. I love being a nerd. So, I feel like you said earlier, Chip, it's a privilege to be able to have these kind of things. I know that I don't have to have them, but I don't want to be taken advantage of just because I'm buying them either. So,
exactly.
Anything else?
Yeah. Can I bring something up? Bring something up that all of us that follow the sport, all of us follow the sport.
Nope, absolutely not.
We all love this. I mean, we proved with what we've shown out of our collections, whether it's on these shows, whether it's on the Facebook sites, it doesn't matter. I mean, no matter how you look at it, but this is conversations I've had with Blake before, probably over starting about the last 2, maybe 3 years ago is probably the first time I brought this up. And I did a little more thinking while we were sitting here talking. And when the hell, or why, not when, but why has Lionel themselves not looked at the option other than I guess cost, because they already had something in place? Maybe they have an agreement that's got a contract that's got to last X amount of years. But when you have companies within the sport being Haas CNC and Keselowski Manufacturing, why have you not found a way to try and make these in the States?
It's got to be contracts. I would say it has to be. I think money plays a part of it too, but I'm sure the factory that they are with, it's got to be a monster contract. It has to be it has to be, because, and it's got to be one that is for so many years, or it's got to be a monster contract.
It's got to be the factory, because the factory is the reason there's a MOQ, right? So imagine the amount of money Lionel has lost on cars that you could have made 15 of like a liquid color and like 20 of an elite because there are people that nobody collects. And that could help the market out for if that driver gets good and gets, I need that car. Well, you can't get it because it didn't make mock because they sucked at the time, you know? So just the mock alone kind of tells you it's got to be contract related.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm sure it's a factory based contract. How many millions, not hundreds of thousands, millions of units a year, because they all started out as a base Chevy, Toyota, or Ford. And the ARC and the Elite and the Premier Elite are all the same damn mold. The only difference is whether or not they get
open
tethers and screws and open or don't open, or if they get basically like tack welded together, I guess, on the underbody. So, I mean, when you're talking about producing, let's say this year it's going to be a million Chevy non-Camaros because Camaros disbanded, whatever. And let's say it's $1 per chassis. Can Haas CNC produce that same amount and at what volume? And do they have the not basically the supply chain or the stamping molds to support that? I mean, I agree. I would love for them to bring that business back in. However, what is the feasibility of an operation like Haas CNC or Keselowski's manufacturing side of the house to be able to actually support that volume? And then you take that and apply it across 3 manufacturers that are in the sport, and then you reduce that to 1/64 scale. And like I think it's probably way more difficult logistically to bring into the US than we think. To reinstantiate that whole operation.
It's not a simple fix by any means.
Yeah.
That's a 10-year plan.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
As opposed to trying to bring Lionel over here, or looking at it from the aspect of,
oh, you mean by importing the goods, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So either, and at this point now, instead of trying to bring it over here under the Lionel banner, why not bring something back along the lines of Team Caliber? Maybe not that branding.
That's where they end up in that courtroom sitting right beside NASCAR with that monopoly lawsuit. They're just waiting to see how that works out for them first.
No, exactly.
Until
that was kind of what I was. That's kind of what I was getting to. I mean, we're looking at the same. I mean, that takes us right back to the damn lawsuit we talked about in the last episode. I mean, we're now all sitting here looking at the struggle that we're all now going to face as collectors because they've turned this into a friggin' monopoly.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, to be clear, not everybody collects every other thing out there, but like I've got action figures, Legos, all that stuff. Like IP licensing gets handed down from manufacturer to manufacturer on terms and contracts, just like NASCAR stuff does. But the difference is Hasbro doesn't go around buying out Kenner and LJN and Marvel and all these different, or McFarlane Toys or whoever the different toy companies are. NASCAR, or not NASCAR. So if I said Lionel did go out of their way to buy up Team Caliber, Action Performance, all these.
I did not know they bought Team Caliber.
So they own the whole diecast game. So the only group they don't own is Auto World. And Auto World does the NHRA stuff, which is why you get it, and they do a great job. I think they bought out Milestone, if I remember correctly, too, when they were doing 16 scales.
The dirt guys, they don't own them either, right?
ADC.
Yeah.
That's a weird deal with the molds. So ADC and Action, because I have a few of Tony's late models. Yeah. It was a weird deal with the mold back and forth, but it was ADC is still their own thing. They shared a mold there for a little while, and they labeled some cars as Action. I think 2006 there was a Action late model, but it was ADC's doing.
That was right before Lionel bought Action out.
So it was a partnership for a little while, but then ADC decided now they didn't want anything to do with it and went back to doing their own thing.
Yeah. So Action, Motorsport,
so I do have.
Mechanics, then it became Lionel.
There is one name in there though, still, that at one point did produce NASCAR cars. Hasn't been quite a while, but you can still find some of the Richard Petty and some of the older driver Auto World cars.
Yeah. Well, I would love to see Auto World do it.
So have they lost all licensing rights? Or would that still give them a foot in the door?
I believe so. I believe Lionel has exclusive NASCAR rights to the NASCAR IP.
Yeah.
So the only company I could see that has the financial money to challenge them in terms of like, this is non-tariff related, whatever now what we're talking about, just if we wanted some competition in the marketplace, the only people who have the kind of money I can think of that can go up against Lionel is Hot Wheels. And
I don't
Hot
see
Wheels
them doing
makes
it.
more than
I
enough
don't
money
think
to
they
do
have
all
the
crap
desire.
they do to be bothered with NASCAR.
No.
No.
They tried it and it didn't work really. I mean, they had a small retail line for a few years.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, in the late 90s, right?
Yep. But I would love to see Hot Wheels get into the NASCAR game.
Honestly, I think it's one of the only things that's going to fix the problem that we're looking at, that we're sitting here talking about right now.
It's just not going to happen. Like he was saying a second ago, they were in there in the late 90s and early 2000s, I think, and I haven't seen them since. And I think that just the market.
I think the reason they ran is because they were sponsoring Kyle Petty. You know,
possibly.
Yeah, they had some skin in the game then, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think
I got to pay this college application, guys, so I just won't
we're kind of stuck where we are as far as.
I got to ask, Chip, what is your absolute favorite prototype that you got there?
Well, so I don't know how long you want this video to be, but we'll go down the rabbit hole anyway. I recently got all of them out and took a group picture of it. I don't know how many of you saw it, but it was quite the task to do. I got them all out, put them in chronological order, and snapped a picture of them. Oh yeah, it was a fun 2 days. Anyway, I looked towards the future, not to be the Grim Reaper, but you never know what could happen to you. And so I wanted to help my wife out a little bit. And I, on the chassis of the cars, put a little sticker that just said what it was, what year it was, just enough, the explanation enough to where my wife would understand what it was, if she had the need to resell them or whatever. But there are two cars in my collection that don't have any details on them whatsoever. They just say put in casket. So the two cars that don't have any description, I will be standing at the pearly gates hoping to be let in with them. Tony's 2011 Homestead Win prototype might not be the rarest car on the face of the planet, but for me that was a special night, big moment, historic in NASCAR. Tied Carl Edwards. Yep. Went to the back twice, still won the race. To me, that is a very special car. But I did a very millennial thing a couple of weeks ago. I made a video of an unboxing a car, and I was able to find Tony's 2009 Delphi nationwide car that he ran at Charlotte. It was a complete DMP, didn't make it. And that one is I was told from the individual who I got it from, who got it out of Junior Motorsports, that they only did two. He's got one and I've got the other one. So it's a stupid rare prototype at that. So those are probably the two that I would say I hold nearest and dearest to me. But you guys, I've still got plenty of others that I really love, but those are the two that were very special to me.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. That is pretty cool.
It took some time. I
was imagining you standing there going, "Please let me in with these."
It might just need to be, "Please let me in." But no.
Chris is probably that damn Nova of his.
Actually, I mean, honestly, no. I mean, the Nova, I think overall is probably the rarest and most expensive car that I'd have in my collection. But I think if I had to look at my favorites, would be the DNP. It's kind of the same thing that Chip was talking about. Would be the Mark Martin Hall of Fame DNP, the one that he shut down himself. There was only two that I know of that exist.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
And I have one, and I think Chip probably knows who has the other one. And then it'd be six altogether because it'd be the set of all fives at 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40. His last four wins from 09, or last five wins from 09.
Whenever you're ready to send me that missing ghost car, I'll take it.
I've been trying to talk him out of it.
Hey, dude, if I could I've found 3 other ghosts, but it's all the ones you don't need. It's the damn GoDaddy every time. I cannot find another one. I cannot find another one of the damn Quaker State.
Yep, the Quaker State's hard. But look, it won't be far. You'll be able to see it through video. It'll be right here with all of its other friends.
Yeah.
So, it's like a child that goes off to college. You'll be fine. Trust me.
If that was the only one you needed, I might think
it's
about
just
it.
Like Matt with his Harvick cars. He's got the Harvick Budweiser Military Tribute Ghost I need. And there's a couple other guys that have it. I stupidly, because I was like, I don't want a dirty car. I mean, no, none of us do. But what the hell's his damn name? Jared. All right. Anybody in the collector community knows Jared's a big Harvick guy. Jared offered me that diecast I need. I think he wanted like $200 or whatever. Maybe it was 300. Either way. But the thing looked like it was covered in dust. And I was like, I don't want a dirty car that hasn't been protected. And I'm going to have to clean everything. I should have just taken that fucking car, washed it, cleaned it, put it in my case. Now I'm never going to find that damn car again. And I am far away from having every damn ghost that they made between their dipping their toe in the water in 2009 with the black chrome, black on black chrome, and then the ghost from 2011, 12, and then their one-offs in 15. I've got them all, either in prototype, DIN 1, sample, or door, or regular. And I'm far away from having every damn one of them.
Because I think I may only maybe 2 where 2 others are.
Well, if you look out there in the world, the ones that come up most often are, oddly enough, Jimmy Johnson, 7-time champion. You'd think those would come up very often, but they do. But it's not the good ones. It's the Cobalt. For whatever reason, everybody hates Cobalt, and that's a great looking car. And then Kurt Busch and the Shell Pennzoil was the other one that comes up a lot. Those are pretty much the 2 you see most routinely. You'd never see Carl Edwards ones, and I've got DIN 1 for both of those. You don't see Matt Kenseth. They only made one of them. They DMP'd the Crown Royal Black. I can't find that one. I'm looking. I know they made it because I've seen a proto image of somebody's where I was like, ooh, I'd like to have that. But and then there's a Harvick one of that 2009 era black chrome that was DMP, which I can't understand how the hell that managed to DMP for Harvick, but because the rest of them they did in autographed, and they were all autographed. So, but yeah, they're some of the oddest and hardest cars to come by. And to your point, what we talked about earlier with MOQs and everything, they're either 24, 36, or 48, and they're super hard to come by. I don't know what to even begin to value them all at, because I've paid different prices for different ones. I've got some of them as low as $65 as people were just wholesaling their collections. And others I've had to pay $450, $500 for. It just depends on the driver and who's got it. So
I don't know if you were able to hear while you were off air there for a second. I asked Chip what his favorite proto was, and he's got 2. Which I totally understand those 2. And then Chris said his. My favorite car, and it's kind of silly, but I know you guys that know me know that how much it means to me. The 2018 throwback for Larson, the Davey Allison throwback, not the right colors, who cares? I've got DIN 28, and it's autographed by Chad Johnston and Kyle Larson, and
that's cool.
There's nothing going to be better than that car. DIN 28, throwback car to the 28 car, autographed by both of them. Nothing's going to beat that.
That's a good one. We only get to pick one.
Well, we let Chip get two, but we understood why.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Whew, this is tough.
So you're saying I got to find Chad now to get my door number for that car autographed?
Do what?
So you're saying that I got to find Chad Johnson now to get the door number that I have of that car autographed?
Probably.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
This is tough. I'm gonna
You don't want to play the gun to head game with diecast because you just pull the trigger.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I'm thinking, I don't know.
It's hard because there are so many. I don't think any of us. First off, we don't collect crap, so it's hard when you're talking about. They're all good cars. They're all cars you like. I only have one. No, that's not true. My favorite proto is definitely that Crown Royal color or Ghost proto. They didn't make a lot of protos in the Ghost era, and that's a one of my favorites for sure. That Matt Kenseth Crown Royal Black, especially because they shortly after basically ran all the liquor companies out of the sport for a while.
Yeah, no shit.
But in terms of favorite overall car, that's tough. I mean, I wasn't a Jimmy Johnson fan, but in terms of rarity, they did when he won his first championship. They did 100 only, and they were doing this back then in those jewel cases of the trackside elites. So it was only available at the track.
Mm-hmm.
They only made 100 of them. I have the production unnumbered slipped sample of his first championship color chrome elite of the 100.
That's a big
one.
And
I have one with the serial number that goes right beside it of the 100. So
that's pretty cool.
Those, and I'm not a Jimmy Johnson guy, but I feel like those are two very high dollar cars in my mind because you had to go to the track to get them. And most Jimmy Johnson collectors didn't even know about them until they started kind of coming up and they were like, oh, damn. Because the box says there's like 2,700 of these cars, but the elite slip that goes inside says XX of 100, or on the case of the no plate sample, it's blank.
So is that the one that Mitch has been looking for forever?
They didn't make too many production sample elites. So, yeah, just like for Harvick, the other one I got, which pissed Matt off pretty fast. I got when COVID was going on and everybody was doing their part to, raise money for the foundations and everything. I outbid Matt on a Richard Childress personal collection, Harvick Color Chrome Coast Guard Championship autographed. So it's signed by Harvick and Richard, and it's got a COA with Richard's personal signature on it from his collection that I got. And Matt wants it. I told him, I was like, now, if you want to make a trade, I'll let this go for that Ghost. That's how much I want that Ghost. You can have this. He's like,
and he said no.
But then I have to break up this set. I'm like, well, you know where it's at, and it ain't going anywhere else. So it'll be here when you're ready. You'll come to me.
So that brings up the question. I'll ask you guys, and then I've got one in mind. What's the one car you got to have? You got to find. You're on the hunt. Alan, you've talked a little bit about the ghost cars, but there's got to be one car like, man, I'm itching to find this one.
Mine just came out, and I don't know how hard I'm going to search for it or if I'm going to put money up for it or not. But I had no clue that they were even doing a Thursday Thunder for it. It was the Kansas Gold. I had no clue. But like a sidebar to that, I've got one Pablo Montoya's Juicy Fruit car down here. And I remember there was 3 years in a row where I looked and looked and looked for that damn thing. You couldn't find that damn thing anywhere. Now you can find it. It's a lot more available. But for whatever reason, you could not find the Juicy Fruit COT to save your damn life. And then the Big Red car became the same way. The COT for the Big Red, it was hard to find. I just thought it was weird that Juan Pablo Montoya, of all people, his cars, some of his COT cars became very hard to find. But outside of the Kansas car, I'm trying to find, because I got rid of it when I went through I changed my stuff there for a little bit. The Juan Pablo Montoya Watkins Glen win. Elite.
I'm gonna say, and I don't know if you have one, Chip, or not. I don't even know if they made one, honestly. I would like to get Harvick's Shifting Shades, that 2009-10, the Shifting Shades paint, that color changing, like basically it's like a pearlescent paint that you find on cars. They only
may or may not be one over my shoulder.
So I thought you had the Stewart one. I know they made Harvick. I thought they made Stewart. They made Kansas Crown Royal from 2010. They made, I want to say they made Gordon's. There's only like
with Affleck.
Yeah, they only made like 10 drivers, and they ended up not moving forward with it. I don't know why they didn't move forward with them, but if I could get, and honestly any of them, but like,
I never got
obviously Harvick or Gordon would be my top two, and then Crown Royal for Kenseth. But
I never got an answer out of anybody from Lionel as to why they, completely shut a program down across the board for everybody, for just not just one team or one driver, but got the prototypes in for everybody, and then we're like, nope, not going to do it, and completely shut the program down. I don't know if it's too expensive to make. I never got an answer out of anybody from Lionel out of that. So
can somebody show me? Can you take this car out of the case and show me what you're talking about? Because I've never heard about this.
Shifting Shades. Sorry. Think of it. It's basically, you know how the DuPont color changing car was on track?
Yeah.
This was Shifting Shades in diecast. This was the real deal. This was like automotive grade paint on a diecast.
So
these things
I don't know how
beautiful.
I don't know how well the lighting's going to come, but honestly, so I'm looking at it and it's purple.
Yeah.
I changed
Looks
it
gold
and it's
on
yellow,
gold,
and
silver, orange.
It really
purple.
Depending on the light and the way that the light hits the purple. Thing.
Yep, I see it.
I'll try to shift it around a little bit there.
But now it's like a silverish purple. Then
it becomes gold. Honestly, depending on the angle that you look at this thing, and I'm promising you guys, the camera is not going to do this thing any justice. But
I've seen one before.
It literally shifts shades. I swear, the way you look at this thing and the way that the light hits,
you can see it change through while you're moving it. That's it's crazy.
I've
never heard of that.
It goes from like gold to orange to purple.
Yeah. I don't know why they I don't know why they put
I assume it has to do with how much I feel like it has to be with how much it costs to paint them. Gotta be.
Had to be.
Because essentially that's automotive grade paint. My mom had that kind of paint on her Cadillac, and it would go from eggplant purple to hunter green to black, depending on where you stood around that Cadillac, Seville STS at the time when I was in high school. And it was one of the most pretty cars I've ever seen. And I don't remember how much that paint was an ounce, but it was expensive.
Ford did it on their T-Birds for a while too.
Yep.
In the mid-90s.
So it's that pearlescent metallic paint that changes color. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous car. And
wasn't the Chrome Illusion when it came out? Wasn't it like $400 a pint or some crap like that?
I remember being a lot.
To
me, that's probably one of the rarest cars ever made. Is that suite of cars, those Shifting Shades, along with Harvick's prototype with the 3 on it before they renumbered it to the 29. The prototype of the crash car, and then the DNP icons are up there with it where they first did those. Trying to think of what else would be up there.
That's the car I wish I hadn't sold, was the Dan 88 of the icon. I can't believe I let that go.
Well,
it would have been with me if I'd had the money.
Yeah.
Now, so to your point about a car I'm chasing, besides the more realistic attainable goal, I feel like in the Shifting Shades, because that's like going to have to be willed to me, and I'm going to have to, who knows what. First, I'd have to find it. Besides Matt,
have you ever seen one?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen the Harvick one. Matt showed it to me before.
So these
I
are
know
all
too.
DNPs, right? They were never produced.
Yeah, these were never produced. There are no
Okay.
productions. These were
That's why I
DNP
don't know about
proto
it.
only.
I know where two Martin are, but I don't think I mean, I don't know that I'll ever get my hands on them.
As far as Harvick cars that I'd like to have that are more realistically attainable, that were not produced, that were a prototype, I want the liquid color of that 2016 Fish car because they showed it in the video of when they were showcasing special finishes back in the day. I know it's real. I can't remember who the hell has it, but I want that car. And I feel like that's attainable. I feel like I can write a check to get that one. Like,
I think
if I find the right
it's
person.
underneath Thomas's desk.
Nope. I know I remember who got it from the prototype giveaway, but I cannot remember for the life of me his name. But maybe one day that's like my grail. If I could get the liquid color of that Fish car, I'm out. I'm done. Like, okay.
What about you, Kevin?
I'm a little more simple than that.
He hasn't answered a favorite or one he's looking for yet. So,
Well, he looks like Ricky Carmichael, so maybe this Ricky Carmichael Oakley truck back here, and you just walk
I
around
don't
with
have
it.
any prototypes or whatever, but as far as my favorite, it's probably my Mesma Darlington Kyle Busch finish autographed.
That was when he did the Interstate throwback?
The Interstate, yes.
Yep, I remember when they did those. I have the Busch Beer one. It's a good looking car. They did those good.
That's probably my favorite as far as just pure aesthetics. And something I want to add to my collection is I have the 20. I was at both. I was at the 2010 sweep and I was at the 2017 sweep. So I've seen both, but I do not. I have the 2017 autograph set, but I've got to track down. I've got to find the 2010 autograph set to add my collection. That's probably the one thing I really want to add. So, but it's they're like $1,500 to find a set. That's it right now.
His candy cars are hard to find.
So if I can find a good autograph set of the 2010, I'm gonna snatch it. So
I went through I think 3 elites before I got one not damaged for each of the finishes for the caramel, the 2017 caramel elites. Before he went and ran Bristol and won, or no, they're of the All-Star win. Yeah, they're the All-Star win. They only made the caramel and liquid color and color chrome elite for the All-Star. I got mine. The graphics were bubbled / chipped because that's when that whole nonsense started. I sent them back. I don't know what the hell they did with them. It took me like 2 years to find replacements for them. And I've got them sitting over there. And I worry those are going to crack, truthfully. Just because if one had them, what's the chances the others have them?
Yeah.
And that's his only special finish purple car.
Yeah.
So.
But I have this grail right here. It's the hazelnut spread.
Nice.
With Kyle, Samantha, and his mama autographed it.
That's neat.
Mama Bush.
Mama Bush.
So,
Chris, what about you, bud?
I was thinking somewhat along the same lines as Alan. The Mesmachrome is one, or not Mesma, the Shifting Shades is one I've wanted forever. I don't know that I'll ever get the opportunity to. I mean, I know I have a car that I could probably get it with, but I don't.
What is it?
That Nova.
Yeah.
And it's been imbued with one human soul.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, you said you just give it to Dale Jr.
I was thinking about it, just kind of out of spite because the way I've been treated on the other end of that whole ordeal. But yeah.
Yeah, but now he employs Sammy Smith, who wrecks everybody. He's got to rethink that.
We have now come full circle tonight.
Yeah. Have you? I know you've probably seen that car before, Chip. Do you have any more insight as to any information you know on that junior or that senior Nova with the action figure in it?
I not Not particularly. So I've focused a lot of my effort and research time on Tony, and I try to stay up on, current events, if you will, but that specific one, not particularly, no.
I mean, I've heard a lot of the same story from quite a few of the collectors. Of course, you knew Cooper and Wolf and some of those guys before they got out.
Yeah.
And it was a car
Good
that I ended
guys,
up,
by the way.
yeah. But it was a car that I got from Cooper. That was the Dale Senior Nova. And it's, from what I've been told from numerous people, it was the only one that made it out without getting destroyed. I think out of maximum of 3, I'm thinking only 2 that were actually produced. And Action executives themselves said that's not a direction we want to go. You need to get rid of those. And
is there any proof that, I've been wondering this, like, how do we know somebody didn't just put the figure in there? Like, have you ever seen another figure like that outside of a car?
Nope. Not that I've ever seen.
Is it detachable? I don't remember when we talked about it at one point. I didn't know if it was like molded to the roll bar and the seat and everything. It was like a non-removable component. Like they just decided.
I know.
Do this.
That glued in.
I didn't know this was show and tell, but I'm here for it.
I love show and tell. Show and tell's good.
It doesn't look like it's.
Oh, you're not getting it out of that, I wouldn't think.
No. Not without taking the whole.
Not without. I was just curious. Like, does it?
I wouldn't screw around with it. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I mean,
to the seat and the rest of the components.
If it's molded to the seat, because if you guys can see it, let's see if I can get where the camera is.
There you go.
The action figure's yellow and the seat's black.
So I would bet you it's got some type of adhesive to it. Then obviously,
that keeps it in place.
So, I mean, it's an amazing thing because, like you said, they never went that way. They've been so inconsistent they can't even figure out in the middle of a run if they're going to put a damn rear view mirror on a car or not on the damn post. So,
you got to look at the IndyCar stuff. That's about the only thing I can think of to compare it to. So
yeah,
the IndyCar folks made the cars with an open cockpit, and then they put a figure in it, and folks were like, that kind of didn't look right, and so they went back and forth on whether they wanted to have a driver in the seat of the IndyCar or not. So I think maybe it made them feel like it was a little too much like a toy.
Yeah.
I don't know that for sure, but I do know that there's 2 or 3 Stewarts that had them, and then 2 or 3 that once that was it, the rest of them didn't. So I'm wondering if it was like they just didn't like the way it looked, or if it made it feel a little too much like a toy or not.
Do you know if in the IndyCar ones? Well, I mean, I guess if even if they were in the IndyCar, especially in the IndyCar, you would think that, and that's another reason with these is there's no detail added into it. It's just all yellow.
It's
just a yellow plastic figure.
Yeah, and it's not a closed face helmet. Where I was just going to ask on some of the Indy cars. Well, maybe somebody took this out of one of the Indy cars, but you look at the screws on the bottom, and it does not look like the screws on this. It only has 2 screws. With the way these old cars came apart, because these are the old steel chassis car. The screws on the back don't look like they've been messed with. Usually you can either see where the screwdriver's been put in there and they've been rounded a little bit, or it'll take some of the black off. But the screws on this look fine. They don't look like they've ever.
I don't think anybody would have modified it and been able to pass it off as like a fake. Because I mean, again, you got to be able to modify the whole interior to get it to fit and tighten back up, and the things you would have to do to be able to do that. I don't think there's any question.
I was just wondering because.
So I don't know. I mean, it's an awesome freaking piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, honestly, I know we've we've tossed it around and talked about it a few times, but how in the hell would you even really put a price on it? I mean, these cars, some of these cars, as far as the Novas themselves, go for crazy ass prices anyways, let alone the thought that, I mean, this has some damage to it, of course, as we all know, most prototypes do, because they're handled by so many people.
Just sell it to Tavis, he'll fix it for you.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, I mean, I think your original proposal, other than trading it for like a shifting shades, I honestly think if you were to get rid of it, the correct person for it to go to is Dale Earnhardt.
Would be Junior. That's why I said what I said. Yeah,
I honestly think that's where it belongs. If you were to sell it, not that you should get rid of it for no good reason.
If you're willing to give it to Junior, to give it to him, I would try to trade it for a shifting shades first, because you said you're after it.
And the only
that
reason
is your driver. Mark Martin is your Davey Allison for me.
Oh, I get that, but a lot of the reason why I ever even said I would give it to him in the first place, like I said, that was just kind of, I was like I said, was kind of out of spite, because I was pissed off on how I got treated on a deal that I made where I cut a great deal and then absolutely got shit on in return and got nothing out of it.
Maybe, hear me out. You could trade it for like an Xfinity test run with Junior. I mean, you can't do any worse than Tony Smith wrecking 20 cars. So.
I didn't know I was going to have to wear boots to this show.
But no, I mean, you think about how much Dale Jr. really, I mean, he talks about it all the time. He has no idea if his kids will care about that crap, but how much he enjoys getting things that are related to his father or his grandfather, and how much he treasures them. I would be curious, like, if you were to show it to him, let's say you didn't even give it to him, I would be curious what he'd be willing to give you to get it. Because does he even know it's out there?
Well, I've tagged all of Dirty Mo Media, including him and everybody else that I can think of, on social media, and gotten no response, no likes, nothing back.
Okay. All right.
So it'd probably come to a point where it's something I'm going to have to take with me at some point when I know he's going to be at the track, or if I am able to make it out to the East Coast for a race again, and just show up at JRM and see.
Yep.
Because I'm pretty sure something like this, and depending on what he's got going on for that day and what his schedule looks like, something like this is definitely going to be an attention getter.
Yeah. I mean,
because not only being the Nova, but the simple fact that how many times have you heard him during his podcast, the fact that that's a big focus of his collection is prototypes. You look at almost all of them that are on his table are prototypes.
And restoring it when he got it, and his Uncle G, Robert G, working on it.
Yeah, Robert G.
Yep. You got that one insured, right? I hope.
Yeah, I need to. That's for
now
damn
the whole
sure.
world knows you got it. And they're gonna come.
He didn't even want to pay $17 to watch the damn race. What are you talking about?
We got another Robert G special.
Nice. That's one of my favorite paint schemes of all time. That was one of the hardest cars to friggin' find. Was the year 2011 when Dale Jr. ran that DW, Tribute Mountain Dew with the white and green in color chrome. Fuck my life, that was so hard to find that one in Elite. Beautiful car. Because the chrome, and I will say, like, that era, 2011, 2012, that's something I wish they would do. And I'm sure you've seen them in some of yours, Chip. The dual drops where, for whatever reason, the way they applied the logos and the application after the graphics, like the chrome bled through. So, like the VH1, it's not a popular scheme of Dale Jr.'s, but that color chrome, all the music notes, the red, the orange, the whole car is color chrome, all the color and all the white. Same thing with the National Guard Patriotic from 2012, the blue and the red are color chrome. They did that with Kyle Busch, which I don't know if you've seen these, Kevin, or not. If you've looked, these are right up your alley. They're some of the rarer cars he has. So in 2008, and they didn't do this on all of them, but back then, because them and M's wouldn't let them. They wouldn't let them make, in his COT days, the candy is color chrome too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I love these things because, like, they drop the white. The M&Ms are all color chrome. They're rare. They're beautiful cars.
Oh yeah.
And the Halloween ones like that with the M&Ms being color chrome as well.
Oh yeah. For sure.
One of the hardest cars I ever had a hard time finding, and I got lucky and found two of them. Was this one here? Was the NASCAR Salutes Juan Pablo autographed? I think they're. I don't remember. I think there are only 36 of them. It's ARC only.
Was that a NASCAR.com exclusive?
All I know is there was only 36 of them. And they're all autographed, and they're
I'll
all
be right
color
back,
coded.
you guys.
Yep.
All right.
But I got two of them, and I sold one of them to a guy that has a huge, just a patriotic. Is all he does is patriotic stuff, and I think I sold one of them to him, and I kept the other one.
I tell you what, it's the thrill of the hunt, really. You know there's stuff out there, and you're looking to say, hey man, I gotta find it, and there's certain cars that you may never see. The lucky elites that they did, man. You may never run across one of them. Some, you just
Yeah.
they're out there, but you may never see them. But
I wish they'd do that again.
The Lucky Platinum inserts, heck yeah.
I don't hate the idea of a random insert. I really, really don't. There's some people that are
truly random. I don't hate the idea.
I think that makes it interesting. You open the box up, wow, it's chrome, wow, it's gold, whatever they would decide to do. Whether oddball finish or whatnot. But you guys were talking about what's the car you got to have? What's the one you're
just real quick for that dual drop. This is what I was talking about, where the yellow,
red, that's beautiful.
Like the whole thing. Even if you don't care for VH1, like this was a beautiful car for them to do this with, and instead of it being like the paint and everything, like the color, the chrome just bleeds through. It's beautiful. And I know Tony Stewart's got one or two of them, I think, like that. I know Gordon had some. They're hard to find because once people figure out like the preciousness of them, all of a sudden they just disappear. Because everybody's got to tell them how awesome they are, and then you can't find them no more.
I gotta have it now. No, I gotta have it. I gotta find it.
So yeah, keep going. I was listening
to so I've been fortunate enough to. I have 4 of the 5 race wins from 2011 in prototype. So New Hampshire, Chicago, Homestead, and Texas. I have the prototype to all 4 of those. I've got to find Martinsville. It's got to be out there somewhere. Somebody's got it sitting on the shelf and don't even know they've got it. So hopefully we can bring that one home one day. That is my gotta have it car.
Yep.
Now they always made prototypes back then? Like, are you sure that like there is one out there? Does that make sense?
It's one of those cases. 2011. So it's a case of they made the other 4, so you would assume that they made that one. But you know what happens when you assume.
You can ask Lionel if there's any made.
Oh, we have.
Oh yeah.
if they since they weren't necessarily
not so good.
Well, especially on prototypes because they weren't supposed to be released to us.
Yep. Exactly. But
they've destroyed
that's the
things, and
that's the thrill of the hunt. It could pop up on eBay tomorrow. You just don't know.
I guess you're a frequent flyer on there.
Everywhere. It's funny. So I gotta say, the thing about the diecast community is that you make these friends out of people that you've never even met before, right? You get online, you start talking back and forth, and there'll be a car pop up on Facebook or eBay, and your message inbox will just blow up, right? Hey man, this is up. You get a tag in it or whatever. And I always love it. I always think that somebody took their time to send me a message to say, hey, just so you know, this is here. Even if I've already got it, even if I'm not even interested in it, which if it's a prototype, I'm interested. But that's what I love about the community, though, is the people. So that's the greatest part of it, really, is the camaraderie and all that mess. I don't know that it would be as fun if it wasn't for the people involved.
Yeah.
I don't get tagged much anymore for Larson stuff or anything, but I do get. I I feel like when it comes to Larson prices, I get asked about daily or every other day how much things are worth. And that makes me feel good that people still are coming to me to find out, hey, what's this car worth?
Well, I just think of like you said, the community and the hunt. I think those two things, when I started collecting as an adult, these 124s and dealing with people like Mitch and Wolf and Cooper, and like when I want Blake to help me buy something, or talking to you, Chip, or meeting Mike, Ghost Honor, getting to meet these people at the Lionel events and talk about like, oh, okay, or Stephen Monarch, buying something for his daughter or whatever. And I enjoyed the discussion, like, because everybody's knowledge level is different. We can all be standing around that table staring at a bunch of cars and, or at the prototypes at an event or something, and you don't really know which ones are DMP because they don't always say. They'll just, it just is listed on the table. But then you get to somebody who's an expert on a particular driver, and they happen to know why a car should be more valuable. Like, okay, that 2017 Kyle Busch patriotic red, white, and blue car, that was DMP. They didn't make that. They made it in 2018, but it was on the table for bid. And I didn't want it because I wasn't, I was fine because they were already making the production of the official. But Steven's daughter collects Kyle Busch prototypes, and I was like, hey, you should buy that. It's only for like $300. Like, that's a good car. He's like, why? I'm like, they didn't make it. Definitely don't tell Carl. Carl will go snatch that sucker up in a heartbeat. Spoolman. But like, they didn't make that. You should go buy it for your daughter. And he put in a bid and he won it, and he's like, thank you. I'm like, yeah. I was like, go look in the garage at the time. Like, you can see they didn't make the damn car. They didn't make it to 2018. So like I said, I enjoy that aspect of it a lot, is okay, seeing what's in your collection of rarities there. Basically the Fort Knox at Tony Stewart goodies, that Chip's got. And Blake's Larson set of stuff that he's got. We've gone through some, you and I have done some deals on some very rare cars. I want to smack you in the head sometimes. These 1 of 12s and 1 of 24s that you turned around and got rid of. And I've done the same thing. Like, you got rid of that.
Yeah, I had
some
life shit get in the way that really sucks. And I was about to bring that up, is at one point those same people you brought up before said that I would never own a prototype, that there's only a select few people can own prototypes, and you were able to get the McDonald's 42 prototype and sold it to me at the same price you got it for. And and then I was able to go, oh, what'd you all say? You said I couldn't own a prototype? So it kind of helped me with confidence in the, to not have to worry about what some people thought they were high and mighty.
Yeah. And the other thing I enjoy about the hobby, one thing we didn't talk about was not just the interaction, but, and it doesn't happen that I know of as much anymore. Maybe it's just not talked about as much, but the term, the roke, the random act of kindness, where guys just send each other things they're looking for without even asking. They don't want anything in return. Just like, hey, I knew you were looking for this. Here you go. I think it was Wicked fan. I can't remember the number, but he sent me the Brad Keselowski Reds Wicked Apple Ale, Talladega Elite. It just showed up at my door one day, unasked for. Like, I hadn't considered whether or not I was going to add that to my Reds Apple Ale collection or not. It just showed up. Mike sent me the I know who it was supposed to go to, and that's a sore subject with this guy, but he sent me the Harvick Reese's Elvis with the banana cream thing. It just showed, that $700 car just showed up at my door. Didn't ask me for anything. Like, that stuff doesn't get talked about a lot, but that's one of the other things I love about the community is, collectors that help each other. You build those relationships going to these events and all that stuff. And like what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Stephen Wolf was the same way. I mean, he was a great dude. I love May around Charlotte because everybody used to come for the RCCA event. You had the all-star race at Charlotte and
I wish
whatnot.
they'd go back to doing that. Yeah.
I do too, but we had meetings outside of RCCA's thing, right? So a group of us go eat. Wolf's late, and I'm like, I wonder where the heck he is. He walks in and hands me Tony's number 4 Oreo prototype. He goes, here you go. I found it and wanted you to have it. Damn near cried in a Longhorn. I mean, so it's that kind of stuff, and it's that is why I enjoy it as much. If it wasn't for you knuckleheads and the other knuckleheads out there, I don't think I would find as much enjoyment in it as I do.
Yep.
Last year, Chris had gotten the DIN 1 Harvick throwback to the 29 car, the number 4. And I remember Alan saying, I didn't buy it. I thought it was an ugly car. But I just felt like if it was something he had in hand, that it would change his mind. And I bought the car from Chris, sent it to Alan for his birthday. And he's like, now that I got it in hand, it is a good looking car.
Yep. Yeah, it was like, nah, I don't need that car. All right, I was wrong. Now it's
no such thing as an ugly diecast, right?
It sits right there for the most part, I agree. That's, you've got a display case, and most people have places that I know that are like long-term collectors have places to display them. I feel like it's a crime to have them and not display them. Because I feel like, I work from home. I can't speak for everybody else, but I will be on a meeting and I'll get up with my headphones on and I'm talking to people about security or whatever. I'm working on an issue and I'm staring at cars. I'm looking at oh, I never noticed that detail before in this car. I didn't realize they did that. That's awesome. And I do that all the time, walking around my room, looking at my collection. I spend hours looking at these damn things throughout the week. If I didn't have them in a display, I'd probably get rid of them because then to me, there's no reason to have them because they are works of art. I will give Lionel credit, action performance before them. You get certain cars and you're like, all right, y'all knocked that out of the park. Damn, that's impressive. Not everyone, but most of them.
Yeah, I love my little slice of heaven in here. So
that Shifting Shades car, that's a genuine work of art right there. That's a beautiful, beautiful car. I wish they'd have made them, but
yeah.
So, anything else we want to talk about, gentlemen?
I'm good.
Thank you for having me.
I'm good.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. Hope you'll join us again for some future discussions. Chip, that was fun. Great addition to the group.
I think it's pretty cool to finally get to have a conversation outside of just casual messaging on Facebook with Chip, because like I said, I've sent him plenty of those messages he was talking about, like, hey, this just popped up. and get the answer back that, hey, well, I already got one of those, but yeah, it's cool just to meet, I guess, especially for somebody like me growing up on the West Coast where this stuff it isn't readily available. It's not something you see out of a lot of collectors on this side of the country. And in the short amount of time and just some of the relationships I've made through the hobby, getting to go to out to my first race on the East Coast with Blake for the Bristol night race, getting to go to Vegas and through the stuff that we do through KK's Diecast with Kevin down in Vegas. I mean, it's, for me, it's amazing because for as much as I love the sport, I always just felt so out of place out here on the West Coast, because this stuff it really doesn't. I mean, there's a lot of fans out here, but they look at this stuff that I've got, even people that used to or still do follow the sport avid, or even nowadays, and I'll show them pictures of some of the stuff in my collection, and they're like, "What the hell is that?" They have no clue. I mean, yeah.
So what I took from that story though, Chris, is that Blake's go-to first date spot is the Bristol Night Race. I thought I was special, Blake. I thought we had something. You hurt my feelings. All right. Thought we had a bond.
Well, in my defense, I tried to get you to a race earlier, and
I know.
I was working.
No, I got too much going on with trips and everything. Otherwise, I'd be at Darlington, but I'm actually going for work to.
And Chip, I tried to get both of them to go to Darlington with me this coming week, and they both couldn't go to the race for certain reasons, like work.
You got to invite them to the bowl.
You didn't ask me.
I mean,
yeah, I didn't know you yet.
Don't worry, that'll come time. But yeah, we'll definitely have to plan a get together and everything. But yep. So, well, I enjoyed it, gentlemen. That was a fun discussion. Both the diecast celebration piece at the end, and then just the different tariff discussion and different points of view, and from potential businesses and collectors, long term, short term, everything. So we'll see how everybody else enjoys it, or if they even listen. But either way, I enjoyed the conversation. This was fun.
Yeah, well, regardless of if anybody listens to the entire 3-hour show.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
talk too much. I get told that all the time. They're like, y'all need to be shorter. Well, it just is what it is. It's fun.
Yeah.
I'm 6'5". I can't help it. I can't be any shorter.
I'm 6'5" and I cannot help it.
All right. Well, you gentlemen have a good evening. Appreciate taking the time to get together and talk. I'll get it uploaded. And thank you to everybody who decides to click, listen.
If you listen this far, you're a trooper.
Yep. If you got a long road trip, this is definitely a good one. If you listen to the whole thing. And as you can see, if you want to join us, just shoot us a message. We'd love to have you. Nice. Yeah. Number 1. All right. So we'll catch up with everybody next time. Have a good evening.
All right, guys.